South Africa's municipalities reportedly in arrears as much of March this year. The regulatory body has provided an update on withdrawal fees, employer contributions and rule amendments. This follows the implementation of the two-part retirement system in September. Kiabetso Tswene, senior analyst for retirement funds at the FISCA, says KwaZulu-Natal has the most municipalities at 28, but the Free State stands out with 22 out of the 24 municipalities failing to meet their obligations.
And I suppose that speaks to, the governance issues that we have heard about in the Free State as well. Interestingly, we also have 7 municipalities in Gauteng. Those speak to some distressed municipalities. You also have, perhaps the city of Ekurhuleni Metropolitan Municipality, but that could most likely be referring to historical area contributions.
The Enyobeni inquest has been postponed to the 31st of March next year. Eastern Liquor Board Inspector Zuko Lizani was the last witness to take the stand. He told the court sitting in Mdantsane that the board does not have enough inspectors on the ground and it relies on the SAPS to monitor compliance at liquor outlets. Lizani also admitted that he received complaints of non-adherence to trading conditions involving operations at Enyobeni prior to the June 2022 tragedy. The court has also learned that there was a shooting incident that took place at the establishment in 2021. The board said it received the report after the death of 21 young patrons. Tavern owner Siakangela Ndevu is expected to take the stand when the inquest resumes. In news further afield, the U.S. Special Envoy to Sudan, Tom Perriello, has called for more pressure to bring the warring parties to the negotiating table. This week he visited the country for the first time since getting the job. He told the BBC that the 18-month conflict posed a threat to regional security. He explains what people there have told him about the conflict.
They want to see food and medicine reaching the millions of Sudanese who are hungry and facing cholera and atrocities. They want to see the world stop sending in weapons and start sending in more food and medicine and paying attention to the crisis. And I think what we saw is where an area can be secure, we can see the kind of hope that the Sudanese people want. And we are glad to see that there's been some meaningful progress in recent weeks on humanitarian access in both the East and the West and the South, but so much more needs to be done.
Recapping the top story, Johannesburg City Power says 99% of its vending customers in affluent areas have had their meters recoded. I am Ondolambana for SAFM News, headlines at 3:30.
And coming up in your sports this hour, Magezi FC calming down the nerves ahead of the final this weekend. All Blacks hoping to bounce back against Italy and TGL, considering mixed events in LPGA discussions. I'll have more on this at 3:30.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105.6 FM in Phalaborwa.
Adventure awaits on Tropical Island of Treasure Zanzibar, South Africa's SAFTA award-winning reality show, Saturday evenings at 7:30 on S3. Follow the journey of 7 celebs as they team up with 7 loyal fans and influencers to compete in a series of grueling physical and mental challenges. The beach is hot, but the treasure is even hotter, with more than R1 million in prizes up for grabs. Tropical Island of Treasure Zanzibar, Saturday evenings at 7:30. Repeat Fridays at 6 and Monday at 2 p.m. Only on S3.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Yesterday was interesting. I finally got home around midnight because it was a long day. And I say long day because a lot of my time, as you would know, would have been spent at the annual SAFM lecture, which was delivered by Naledi Pandor at Birchwood, just very near the O.R. Tambo International Airport, right? So the lecture, of course, was fascinating, and we'll talk about that later. We'll play some of the sound bites, some of the key moments of that lecture coming up later on in the show. And I certainly want to get your thoughts about the things that she said. But what is so interesting, and I want to just make this point, is what a privilege not just to be at the lecture, obviously, but a privilege to be part of an SAFM group, fronting up and showing up, and then being able to connect with you, because the listener, you the audience, you the reason anything we say, anything I can say has any relevance whatsoever. If I know that I'm talking to you, or I know that I'm talking, but I'm not talking to you because you do not exist, it's all very irrelevant, because there's just nothing there. And I say that because yesterday, really, what a pleasure to meet so many people who listen to the station regularly, listen to many shows, of course, right? But many of them coming up to me to say, hey, we listen to the National Pulse, and they gave me different names. I mean, I remember one guy's name was something K, and it came from Kensington. I still said KK, something like that, right? There were many others too, right? So if I've forgotten and you were there, how about giving yourself a shout out? Just text me 0614 104 107 via WhatsApp and say, hey, I was there, remember me, this is the person, right? And if you took pictures of the event, how about you sharing those pictures and then tag SFM Radio, and then on Facebook as well, just post on Twitter and Facebook, but also you can WhatsApp us to 0614 104 107. I'll talk more about that later, but what I am saying just for now, really great that you were there, and really great to connect with you, because it gives us a reason and a purpose to being and doing what we do. And I just want to tell you now, you noticed and you are valued. You are so appreciated. Okay, my name is Ashraf Garda. This is the National Pulse. What's moving the pulse today? What do you think? 0614 104 107. I'd like to get your thoughts. First up, we're going to start talking about, by the way, Kes Kuvadia is my guest after 5 o'clock in the weekly feature that we have, the Fireside Chat. Looking forward to that, and we will play some sound clips of Naledi Pandor later on, right? But let's talk about, again, I suppose, someone feeling recognized or not recognized. What about foreign nationals regarding spaza shops and the move and the challenge for them to get registered? Now, you know, that story has run for a couple of weeks, and I know there are different opinions from many people listening to the show right now. However, Amir Sheikh is the chairman of the African Diaspora Forum, and he has wants to raise many issues. Amongst them, perhaps most significantly, is the fact that these foreign nationals are being prevented from actually registering their businesses, their spaza shops, as per the requirement, as per effectively the injunction from the president. So what to do next? Amir, appreciate your time, and thanks for joining us on the National Pulse.
Thanks, brother Ashraf Garda, and to your listeners also.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we last connected.
It has been. Indeed, brother.
Having said that, we speak at a time of obviously huge concern for you and the African Diaspora Forum, a group that you represent, right? And it centers around the registration of spaza shops. So what has happened to you since you and your organization, of course, since the president announced last week that all the stores need to be registered? Foreign nationals and South African-born people need to be registered to be able to trade in their spaza shops in the townships. What's happened since?
No, thanks actually, brother Ashraf. The fact of the matter is, first of all, we welcome the president actually directives, and we urge our members to go and re-register their business. Remember, it's not only registration as actually first time. Many of them had actually registration, and they have registered their business long. But what the president asked is actually to go and re-register your business so that at least you know you can be in full compliance. For the first time, we welcome the directive also from the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. And for the first time, even asylum seekers, those with valid Section 22 permit and who came into the countries and their status as a refugee is not determined, can also go and register their business. Previously, it was actually those with Section 24 permits and now recognized refugees or those with Section 27D or C, permanent residents that could actually do. So we welcome also that. But the unfortunate is actually when on Monday our members went, those who went to Soweto, Jabulani, in Tembisa, in Enedel, and many other places, they will actually find these actually hostile groups led by the more on these actually political parties that are right-wing, populist, anti-immigrant, like the Dudula, and they misinterpreted the president's speech, saying that Spaza shop is an entrant level 1 for the local economy, and hence it is earmarked for the local resident and not migrant. Up to date, the Jabulani UBC is actually services are suspended. This morning we had also similar incident in Anadel in Lenasia, of which the service was suspended. We also experiencing similar problems in Davidson, Etwatwa, in Benoni, as well as actually Tembisa in the Eastern. So it's a problematic. The president have given us a uniform actually, declaration that everyone must register his business. But these are the red tabs that our members are experiencing. They can't do it because of these groups that are actually preventing them to go in, access, and actually get the documentation.
All right. Now, I mean, of course, I've spoken to representatives, in fact, the leader of Operation Tudula, and they're very, very clear up front about it, that they're going to do everything that they can in their power to prevent you from registering, because they do not want foreign nationals in the townships. They effectively saying there's no space, there's no place for foreign nationals in the townships. Now, we know that's not the legal position. We're well aware of that. My question to you in terms of when you say it could be them and others, when they've prevented you from registering, what have they actually done? Like when you want to register and you encounter them, what are they doing? Are they protesting? Are they preventing?
No, in most part they were protesting and actually denying anyone they actually seem foreigners or whose colors actually reflected actually foreign in the country. But most of our members actually, when they saw this situation, they have to turn away, come back, and actually, try another place. Because in Soweto, there are about 5-6 registration center. But anyway, wherever they find actually hostile, they had to actually leave, with the exception of Anadeli this morning, in which a bit it was confrontational and there was some assault on our members. And this exercise have to be suspended. I'll be meeting later this evening with the local leadership and the ward councillor in the area so that we can pave way that at least will not be confrontational, that our members can go and access the situation. Remember, if you go to a different municipality, you will be told, because your business is maybe, for example, in Lehigh, Tembelite, or actually Majesane, which is within Region G, you have to go to Anadel. So you can't go from Soweto, Region D to Region E, or Region F actually in the city of Johannesburg. And if you are prevented, you will have no other option but actually to wait a day that at least it is come and go back. But at least we are writing to the presidency and asking for actually more time, as well as also share with the presidency the challenges that our members are actually experiencing in this area.
What about the police? I mean, as these protest groups protest, one thing is protesting. Are they physically preventing you from wanting to register, as in like shifting your way, or are they putting a barricade that prevents you from protesting and from registering? And in the midst of all of that, what is the position regarding the South African Police Service? What are they doing?
They are using every means possible to prevent our members. It can be even sometimes very hostile. So there is intimidation, interference, use of actually vulgar languages. So every means actually applicable to them that they can deter our members, they are. Though there is a directive from the Professional Commissioner General Mtombeni that at least police will be deployed in this area, we haven't seen much of them. And where we even said members of the police or the metropolice, they were not actually doing much actually to arrest the situation. They were just actually doing what they call feasibility in the area and moving from one angle to the angle, but not doing much about actually the fracas or the intimidation or the harassment or whatever actually other means they were applying. But we urge our members, where they see they are hostile or they may be assaulted, they don't have to go, while we actually look for a remedy to this malady.
Now, you said you've written to the president. I mean, that can be time-consuming too, and in terms of time processes. Like, don't you have a hotline to the president and other relevant organizations and departments? What I'm saying, this is a big issue. This can't, besides delays and postponements, what you don't want is not so much a postponement to allow you more time, because a postponement that prevents you from registering is still not good enough. What you need is to be allowed to register if that's what the law tells you, isn't it? What's the plan then? I mean, is there any conversations?
No, we are writing to the president, and it is more from actually the pro-migrant, proactive, progressive forces that see actually more actually to this, because beside actually the postponement that we may actually look, there is a lot of actually stringent actually measures that our members, even who are successful and have gone to the municipality, the process is too tedious, the process is too stringent, and they may not get the desired result out of that, because the bylaws that is gazetted recently by the Minister of Kokta indicate that an asylum seeker and a refugee can. But when you go to this center, you are told you must only produce an ID. So the red tapes are many. We're not only asking actually when we write to the president about postponement or additional days that will not yield any result, but is to share with actually the presidency the challenges actually our members are facing in terms of actually re-registering their businesses, and not only about postponement, because you actually clearly say that a postponement that will not yield any result and that our members will be deterred will not actually help in any way. So at least to look into this, because in the Western Cape, the process is not as actually long and tedious as actually in KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng. You only need to have a business license to operate a business, but here you have to undergo to different 5 actually municipalities, each with actually its own rules and regulations. So it's not an easy process that at least can be covered within 21 days.
Okay. What are your feelings? So one is you're writing and you're trying to being able to, I mean, the bottom line is you want to get registered. That's what it is. What are your thoughts about the sentiments of many people that South Africa has created a dangerous precedent by allowing foreign nationals to literally not just trade in townships, but to completely take over the trade of the townships, meaning that in many cases, there are no others but foreign nationals, people born outside the country, who are now trading there, and there are no locals who have any stores there.
I think that is too much over-exaggerated. There are more South Africans, locals, who are still in this industry, and actually, though even the migrants may be the predominant faces today, and we haven't actually taken them away from this. This is an industry that many have left, and we find and accommodated it. The government have got a responsibility, like many other countries actually in Africa, starting from Ghana, even Botswana here within our neighborhood, to actually just, earmark some certain businesses for the local. But when we were given documentation, and I'm talking on behalf of our members, the document that they have that legally gives them actually rights that at least they can do trade wherever they want. There is no restriction actually into that. But I think our members need to reconsider these businesses, because it is actually becoming more actually of a burden than actually a gain. Because if it is not actually looting, if it's not xenophobia or xenophobia, if it's not attack on the interest or public arrest actually that ends up in their shop, it will be yes.
But maybe here's the last thing. I mean, would you concede that there needs to be a rethink around the entire township economy, meaning that if the percentage is still too high in favor of foreign nationals, that's an untenable position, and that needs to change anyway, meaning local people have to be seen to be having a stake in the business of that community. Do you agree with me?
Sure. No, I agree with you fully, but rather than actually taking us also out from the township and bringing the USAFE or big corporate body will not actually in one way or the other assist the local. We will have actually like to reconsider and reinvest in other actually industries, and will have actually been good if the local indigenous black will actually take the lead and actually fill our shoes. But how things are going now, it seems that it's actually a process of eradicating and removing the migrant and actually bringing big corporate change that will not benefit the community.
Very, very quickly, just one line. Where do you see this ending?
I foresee the future is bright, but I think it's time for our members to reconsider, and we hope that at least something that is mutually beneficial to both of our sides will come out. But we will actually await for this process of 21 days to actually solve. Thank you.
That would be the wish list, something that's win-win. Amir Sheikh, chairman of the African Diaspora Forum. Right. What's your opinions? You have a thought on that? 0614 104 107. I'll take your WhatsApps in a moment.
Andile, the CEO of a multinational corporation, is driving home with his daughter.
Dad, why is the tooth fairy so stingy?
Stingy? Well, she makes sure everyone gets something.
Does every electrical company get something?
Yes, they're covered by Old Mutual Corporate's employee benefits.
Even Abdul.
Of course, he gets retirement benefits.
And Sisampa on that big machine.
She gets group risk cover if that big machine hurts her.
Wow, that's amazing, Dad.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
Okay, let's get this recipe right. Switch to S3 at 7 p.m. Add 1 scoop of mushendiki. Check. Mix in team green pepper and team red tomato, featuring 2 chefs and 2 contestants. Check. Blend in a limited budget per team and a mystery ingredient to add a bit of spice. Check. Set the timer for 20 minutes and voila, there you have it. A fresh episode of Ready Steady Cook South Africa on S3 every weeknight at 7 p.m. Channel your inner Salt Bay with Ready Steady Cook SA, Mondays to Friday at 7 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
Is there ever a bad time for a good conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. You're listening to the National Pulse on SAFM.
By the way, there's been developments yesterday regarding 2 significant members from Israel, the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the former Defense Secretary Yoav Gallant, right? Now, we'll talk about that with Zinat Adam coming up shortly, so looking forward to that conversation. Let's, however, talk about another issue as part of our Global Watch feature, and that concerns the SADC region, the South African Development Community. SADC has decided to extend the mandate of its peacekeeping force in the DRC by another year, so 1 more year. So what are some of the challenges, the successes of this mission? I mean, has it worked in the first place? Why are they there? South Africa playing a major role, not just physically being there, but also as part of any negotiations too, right? Nixon Katembo is with me, the African Affairs commentator who works for Channel Africa. Nixon, it's always good chatting to you. Hi.
Hi, Ashraf, and your listeners.
Thank you. First of all, this extension by 1 year, is that significant?
Very significant in the sense that the DRC is a SADC member, and this is a problem that befell the regions, but also critical to the regional stability and economic progress given its natural resources. And a market for some of these SADC countries. So it's very important to have that in mind.
Okay. Why is there a need for this? Is there a need for an extension? And perhaps as you answer that, you can take us back to the context of why are these SADC countries on the block there in the first place, including South Africa, of course.
Well, we can. I don't know if we have enough time, but we can look at it from the historical perspective of how when the country.
Maybe in a quick 1 minute, yeah. Go ahead.
Yes, get into become a member of SADC, and then Zimbabwe and Namibia send armies there to assist Laurent Kabila, and this has been sort of. The progress in which Rwanda supporting other rebellions, in this case from the RCD to the M23, causing problem, but also SADC intervening in a sense that in restoring peace, you recall the 2013, and then now the current mission that is there. But critical to that is the role of South Africa in playing a peacemaker, but also hosting the negotiations among parties, except for the one that is currently going on in Angola. But you would see the role of South Africa and the SADC countries in making sure that the region pacified. As to the success, I think you'd recall that before this mission was deployed, the rebels were at the door of the major city like Goma. But after the deployment of SADC, that seems to have changed tack and kind of stopped. So one can say that there has been failure, of course, which we can acknowledge. Maybe would be in a sense of funding for troops, but also lack of political will, part of role play in making sure that this conflict ends.
Okay. And in terms of the ongoing conflict, right, just tell us more about what is the conflict about? What's at stake here?
What is at stake is really the natural resources of the DRC, particularly this particular area where much of the DRC's coltan is found. And you'd recall that the DRC hold about 60 to 7% reserve of the world coltan. But not only that, also other critical mineral resources that are in the area. However, I would mention that the ethnicity and the citizenship belonging has always been used as a caveat to drive much of this conflict in the area, and particularly with the case of Rwanda, because Rwanda is heavily dependent on the looting of resources of the DRC through this proxy conflict. But who are the beneficiaries? Obviously, Western companies. You and I are talking of on cell phone, which could be a product of some of the resources that have come from the DRC. So that is what, in a layman's term, what is at stake. Of course, the issue is very complex. If you ask Rwandese, they will say, no, we are there for deep protection of Banyamulenge, and so on. But in real essence, this is what is at the heart of the problem.
And what is South Africa's role specifically? And I say that because, amongst the conflict zones in the world, the DRC is one of them, and that was an issue brought up by the former Minister of International Relations, Naledi Pandor, yesterday in the SFM annual lecture, right? So what has been South Africa's role, and have we been successful at that in what we've tried to do?
You have to look at South Africa's foreign policy objective and achievement across the continent since the time of Nelson Mandela, who was the first to negotiate in a peace in the DRC when between Laurent Kabila and Mobutu, and then a subsequent government, including the government of Thabo Mbeki and President Jacob Zuma, has been involved. Mandate is simple. Let us have a talk, silence the guns, and deploy capacity to assist those countries, particularly the DRC, to assist the DRC in achieving peace. And that's the role that South Africa has played, of course. If you look at South Africa training the Electoral Commission currently in the DRC in the lead up to the first democratic election in 2006, but also evolving in sending peacekeeping missions there to stabilize the country, training the police, for example. These are something that your listeners might not know. Some of them might not know, some might know. And also the interest of the DRC, the stability of the DRC is very important for South Africa and for the region economic development. So we need to get to that once the DRC fall in the wrong hand and there is no intervention from countries like South Africa and the SADC region at large, it is going to be a problem for the entire region.
And I hope we need to leave it there. I hope it does get resolved. But you're right, it cannot be allowed to escalate any more than where it is right now. Nixon Katembo from Channel Africa, and certainly an African affairs commentator on all things of the continent. Let's get the news headlines now. It's just gone 3:30 years on Della Imbana.
Thank you, Ashraf. In your news headlines, about 11,000 meters are yet to be upgraded across the Northern Cape before the Sunday deadline. The South African Deep Sea Trawling Industry Association has paid tribute to the over 6,000 people employed in the industry And South Korea says Russia has for the first time provided North Korea with air defense missiles and equipment in return for its help in the war against Ukraine. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N12 westbound in Alberton has a stationary vehicle reported at the R59 Reading interchange. The N1 southbound in Grasmere has delays at Grasmere services. The N1 southbound in Midrand has a crash reported before Olifantsfontein Road. In Pretoria, the N1 northbound slow moving towards Garsfontein Road, and the N4 Witbank Highway westbound has delays towards the N1 highway. In KZN, the N2 northbound has a stationary vehicle reported before Mgeni Road. The N3 eastbound, an earlier truck crash reported after Market Road exit has been cleared, but traffic is still queuing leaving Pietermaritzburg. And Mgeni Road westbound is slow moving through Springfield Park. In Cape Town, the M3 southbound is slow moving towards Rhodes Drive. The M5 northbound slow moving towards Kuburg interchange, and the N1 inbound slow moving on the elevated freeway. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tumin Khapeli.
Right, Trumi, let's talk soccer, let's talk football. There's a big cup final coming up.
Yeah, a very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and our listeners. Well, Magezi FC coach Clinton Lawson has acknowledged that they're having to calm some nerves in their camp as they head to their first ever cup final at elite level. Magezi will meet Mamelodi Sundowns in the Carling knockout final at Free State Stadium at 6 p.m. tomorrow, with Digwena Tsamedzi managing to reach this stage within their first 3 months since winning the Motsepe Foundation Championship. But Lawson is not bothered by their inexperience, insisting that they're handling the situation with the help of their senior players.
When you talk about the mood, coming off a win, even though there's been a 2-week break, always creates an air of positivity around the club. So that's been the case. After our win against Richards Bay, the spirit has been good. We've managed to rest the players a bit and then focus on this week's preparations for Sundowns and looking at, our match strategy. But yeah, in terms of the mood, very, very happy. The players look relaxed, even though there may be some nerves, some anxiousness, which is normal because 90% of these boys have never played in a game of this magnitude. So it's normal for there to be a bit of anxiety, but that's what we are here for as coaches and the senior players as well, to calm them down and just get them to relax as much as possible and enjoy the occasion.
Meanwhile, Mamelodi Sundowns coach Mangobe Mngqithi says that he doesn't mind comments made by two former players that his side lack the fear factor. The Downs mentor was asked this week if he agreed with the remarks by Teko Modise and Hlompho Kekana that the current crop did not easily intimidate the opposition in comparison to when they played for the Brazilians, and Mngqithi then offered the following response.
I would not want to be feared before the fight. Personally, that's how I am, because when you are fighting a coward and he's already scared of you, he will give you the biggest left hook you've never seen, because he does not one day come back, because he's scared of you. But when people don't fear you, I think it's better for me, because it means they would not pull all stops to try and make sure that they stop you. But if you are not scared of a team that is capable of scoring 11 goals in 3 matches, then there's something wrong with you.
Elsewhere, Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola says that he could not leave the club after suffering 4 consecutive defeats for the first time in his coaching career. Now, Guardiola has signed a 2-year contract with City, which will keep him at the club until 2027, and his contract had been due to expire at the end of the current season, and he signed a new deal on the back of defeats to Tottenham, Brighton, Sporting and Bournemouth. Meanwhile, Premier League clubs voted today to amend sponsorship rules despite calls from some clubs including champions Manchester City, to delay the decision. Now, City had challenged the league's association party transaction rules earlier this year on competition law grounds. These rules assess whether sponsorship deals with clubs and entities linked to their own ownership reflect fair market value. In rugby, New Zealand are looking to end their year on a high against Italy tomorrow after last weekend's painful defeat to France, which left the All Blacks ruining missed chances. Coach Scott Robinson has picked a strong lineup for the clash in what is expected to be a freezing cold Turin, where temperatures are forecast to be below zero when the match kicks off. His starting 15 contains only a small number of changes, so some forced in injury from the 30-29 France defeat at Stade de France. Then finally in golf, Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy have 24 PGA Tour members on board for TGL, their new indoor professional golf league. But they've also been in contact with the LPGA about a potential expansion, and there are reports that discussions between the league and the LPGA have already occurred, though any collaboration would only happen sometime after the league's inaugural season. On that note, it is a wrap from my side.
And I see, by the way, the new Man United coach, actually, that's his official position, head coach. What's it, Ruben? I must get used to the name. Amoram, yeah. Amoram, I don't know how to pronounce it in Portuguese. Anyway, he's having his first press conference like right now as we talk. So I'm sure you'll pick up on what he says. That could be something quite significant. Always the first one does matter, doesn't it? Yeah. Right, more sport in an hour.
Are we ready for a real conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Get ready to honor Madiba's legacy together. Join us on 8 December at the Union Buildings in Tshwane, Gauteng, as we pay tribute to Nelson Mandela with the Mandela Remembrance Walk and Run. There's a distance for everyone: 21 kilometers, 10-kilometer run, and a 5-kilometer scenic walk. Enjoy loads of entertainment and plenty of fun for the kids. If you can't be there in person, you can participate from wherever you are, uniting with thousands around the country to honor Nelson Mandela's vision of unity, equality, and a just society. All proceeds will support the Nelson Mandela Foundation. Register now at mandelawalkandrun.com. Let's come together to remember Madiba. In proud partnership with Gauteng Province, the City of Tshwane, and SABC Sport. See you there. Let's make it a day to remember.
Andile, the CEO of a multinational corporation, is driving home with his daughter.
Dad, why is the Tooth Fairy so stingy?
Stingy? Well, she makes sure everyone gets something.
Does everyone at your company get something?
Yes, they're covered by Old Mutual Corporate's employee benefits.
Even Abdul.
Of course, he gets retirement benefits.
And Sisampa on that big machine.
She gets group risk cover if that big machine hurts her.
Wow, that's amazing, Dad.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply. The SAFM Playwriting Competition is back. After receiving hundreds of entries last year from South African writers of different ages and ethnic groups sharing their stories, now the time is yours. It's your story. You decide. SAFM invites all writers to explore the medium of sound, the theater of the mind, and to create a 1-hour radio play in English. Get writing now and submit your play before the 3rd of February 2025 for a chance to win one of 3 large cash prizes. For more information, visit safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
All right, we'll chat to Zenit Adam from the Afro Middle East Center pretty shortly, getting reaction. Well, she's reflecting on what some of the world leaders have said in the light of the ICC pronouncements on Benjamin Netanyahu. In the meantime, let's get your calls. Anonymous in Durban, go for it.
Yes, Ashraf, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm speaking about this 30% thing about contracts. The unfortunate thing is that after 5 years, the minister will be gone. And the little horn will grow again. And that's the unfortunate thing. But government can curb this thing in such a way that they procure or design the documents in such a way that 30% is included in every contract. And they give the responsibility to these 30% people that want part of the job, so that every contractor knows when he gets a contract that he will be allocated another contractor who's going to come in at 30%.
Wait, you're not clear what you're talking about. You're referring to what? The miners? What are you talking about?
I'm referring to the participation of this 30% contracting, that contractors walk on your site and they want to take 30% off every contractor's contract.
Okay, all right, got that. Okay, right. So you're saying we should rethink it.
Not only rethink it, but also redesign the procurement documents in such a way that these contractors are accountable not to the main contractor, but accountable to every department or every client that gives them work. Right now, contractors walk on your site, and if you're forced to give them the 30%, you give them the 30%. Whether he is not performing good or bad, you lose out. But whereas if it's in document that these contractors are allowed to come onto the contract via the main contractor, but controlled by whoever's giving the work, then at least the monkey is placed onto their shoulders. It's not the client or every government office.
Okay.
Then they will have to sort things out themselves. So that if the contractor fails who's been given the 30%, then you go back to these people, the mafia, they call them, and you say, listen, your man is failing.
Yeah, but I hear you. Okay, I need to move on. But the point is, if they're doing something that's not legitimate right now, do you legitimize that in that way? Just reflect on that. Anonymous in Durban, thanks for that. Let's play one or two voice notes, then we'll get to Zenith Adam in a moment. And many of them, well, you certainly commenting on spaza shops.
Afternoon, Ashraf. Ashraf, you should have asked that your guest there, that the representative for the spaza shop there. Why do they want to force themselves into people who don't want them? It's the people they want to service who don't want them. They don't want them anymore there. Why are they forcing themselves there? That is the big question. If people don't want you, why do you have to force yourself? Nolan from Brixton.
Okay, got that. Well, is that an interesting one? If people don't want you, why do you have to force yourself there? Does that caller from Brixton have a point or not?
Yeah, actually, Ashraf, it's true. The perception, the percentage of the foreign nationals owning shops in township, it's astronomically high, close to 90%, if not more than that, actually. You go to any place in the township, you find many foreign national shops there. So therefore, this needs to be considered serious. Thanks to Ilya Nkuma.
Okay, got that. We will certainly take more thoughts. Right, so here's a position to you. This is the National Pulse. What for you are the big stories that moves the pulse today? Feel free to give us your opinion and express it in whichever way you see fit. 086 000 2032 to call in, and then you can WhatsApp, text or voice note us 0614 104 107. Let's talk about the pronouncements of the ICC right after this.
Do great solutions start with a good conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, so yesterday the ICC, the International Criminal Court, pronounced that two people in particular from Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant, they've issued a warrant of arrest for them. Now, the reality is there are many countries that are signatories to effectively the ICC rules. There are some that play outside of that. The question for now, not so much what the implications are, but what are the different countries saying? What is Israel saying? What is South Africa saying? What about the USA? What about Great Britain? What about the UK or any other country in the world, in fact? So I thought let's chat about this to Zeenat Adam, the Deputy Executive Director at the Afro Middle East Center. Zeenat, thanks for connecting to us here on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Of course, you've got this difficult job now of collating comments and seeing who has said what. Where do you want to start?
Well, I think that it's important to also identify that it's not just the warrant of arrest for two Israelis, being Benjamin Netanyahu and the former defense minister Yoav Gallant, but it's also for the Hamas military chief Mohammed Daif. Now, that seems to be missing in the news headlines as things are being trumped up as charges against Israel, and Israel coming out saying this is anti-Semitic and these are unfounded. We do know that the ICC had been considering this for a long time. We know that the ICC in previous years, when cases were lodged with them, had come under extreme pressure, including threats to some of the officials working there, including Fateh Bensouda previously and now Karim Khan. We know that the United States and Israel are both not signatory to the Rome Statute, whilst there are 124 other countries that are, and those countries would be under obligation in terms of the Rome Statute to make an arrest should any of these three people enter into their territories. So the responses are quite mixed right now, Ashraf. What are we finding is that because of the legality of it, many of the allies of Israel and those who have been very cautious in terms of pronouncements in relation to the situation in Gaza have also issued very cautious responses to the ICC's warrant of arrest. But concurrently saying that they would observe the law, whilst the Americans have said they fundamentally oppose this. We do know that Lindsey Graham, one of the senators, is going to be posing a motion that would look at even threatening countries that consider applying the Rome Statute in the arrest of these individuals.
Okay, so when you say America opposes, just to confirm, let's go back to the issue of the Palestinian named in amongst the three, right? Why has that been downplayed then in reports? We certainly mentioned it yesterday, but overall, I get it. It's been downplayed in terms of the headline story.
Well, at this stage, the biggest headline would be Netanyahu and Gallant, and the indication would be that they would be held for alleged war crimes. Now, if that does take place, it kills the entire idea that Israel is performing in self-defense. And at this stage, what we're looking at is that the Americans have been completely in the camp of Israel. They have emboldened them. They have funded them as their war machinery, and they've provided them with fundamental material to be able to conduct this genocide. Whilst I use the word genocide, the ICC has refrained from that particular language at this stage, and they've very much stuck to war crimes and crimes against humanity. In the statement by Lindsey Graham, he indicates that there is concern that if the ICC is allowed to proceed with this and that these arrests are carried out, then they would leave the United States as vulnerable to a similar suit in the future. And this is why Israel had debated very strongly over the last few months that the ICC did not have jurisdiction, but the ICC has extended that jurisdiction in line with the idea that Palestine is signatory to the Rome Statute.
In fact, I want to pick up therefore just some of the pronouncements, like you said, what the US has said, and you've touched on it, but also what is Israel said, and South Africa and some of the others. And let's do that right after this.
It's heating up on My Design Rules, South Africa's hottest interior design reality show, this Sunday evening at 7 on S3. Watch as our design duos get cooking on their kitchen spaces. It's the heart of the home, but with the stress of deadline hanging over their heads, it's causing nothing but high blood pressure. Channel your interior designer with My Design Rules. Sunday evenings at 7 only on S3.
For years, Outsurance has been saying they'll save you money on your car insurance, or you can ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand cash if they don't. Here's Fundi, 46 from Brackenfell.
I was not happy with what I was paying. I heard about the 500 Rand from Outsurance, but they give me lesser amount for my car. I'm paying 523 Rand on my 2013 Hyundai iX35.
So here's how it works. SMS out to 30754. We'll give you a no-obligation car insurance quote. If the quote is less than you're currently paying, you'll end up saving money on your car insurance every month. And if it's more than you're currently paying, you can ask for 500 Rand. And if you've been with the same insurer and claim-free for 3 years or more, tell us you want 1,500 Rand.
Give Outsurance a call. It's a win-win. You can't lose.
SMS out to 30754 now. That's out to 30754. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and limits apply. Premiums are risk profile dependent and reviewed annually. Client comments do not constitute financial advice. X at SFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
Right, we're continuing chatting to Zinat Eden, the Deputy Executive Director at the Afro-Middle East Center, reflecting on the ICC pronouncement yesterday. In fact, the warrants of arrest issued for 2 Israelis and one member of one Palestinian from Hamas, right? So, Zinat, what about South Africa? What have we said?
South Africa has welcomed the decision. They've said that this is this marks a significant step towards justice for crimes against humanity and war crimes in Palestine, and they've reaffirmed their commitment to international law and to the obligations in terms of the Rome Statute. Now, you'll remember, Ashraf, that we had a very contentious relationship with the ICC, particularly over the question of the arrest of Sudanese Omar al-Bashir, where we didn't implement that arrest warrant when he visited South Africa a few years ago. And then the South African government was sued for that. So it's quite a significant move that the South African government has reaffirmed its obligations in terms of the Rome Statute in light of this particular arrest. And then, looking at the Americans, they're vehemently opposed to it. They've said that this is clearly not within the jurisdiction of the court, and that they would firmly oppose this.
Okay, what about Israel themselves?
Israel has come out, and Benjamin Netanyahu has made a statement saying that this is absolutely anti-Semitic and it's a witch hunt against them, and that they have the absolute right to defend themselves against Hamas. It's not anything new, something that we haven't heard before. But I think most interestingly is the discussions coming out of the European Union. So the European Union as a collective has had a statement saying that they affirm themselves as part of the Rome Statute and recognize and respect the ICC and international law. But various countries have been very careful in the kind of statements that they've issued. While respecting the international law, it isn't quite clear whether they would actually take any political decisions not to implement this warrant of arrest.
Okay. I've noticed something it's more of the same with regard to Canada as well, where the leader Trudeau effectively saying the same thing, which is they are signatories to the Rome Statute and they will abide by that, right? Is that significant?
When they say abide by it, the question is whether or not they would actually effect a warrant of arrest. Should either of these Israeli officials travel to those areas. My expectation is that, very similarly to Putin, these two are not going to be able to travel to very many countries, and if they do, they would have some kind of a guarantee or bilateral agreement that they would not be arrested should they end up in those countries.
Okay. And therefore these pronouncements in advance almost tells Netanyahu, don't come because we will arrest you, so we don't want to arrest you, therefore don't come anyway, which is a roundabout way of saying so. Just the last thing, is there any country that has said something that is particularly striking for whatever they may have said, besides the countries you've mentioned?
I think for me, it's the position that the United States is taking, and that is so firmly indicating that they may even look at taking steps against countries that consider carrying out this warrant of arrest. And that is quite a bullying tactic. It's not something we haven't seen before, but should they consider doing that, it would definitely antagonize some of their own allies.
Okay, and that's where we're going to leave it. Appreciate you giving up your time. Zenat Adam, the Deputy Executive Director at the Afro Middle East Center. We're going to talk Eskom. We're going to talk about those prepaid meters, remember? After this.
You're listening to the National Pulse on SAFM.
Well, we know it's deadline day, 24th of November, which is Sunday, and we've been talking about it for the better part of a month, right? You know the story. If you do not have your prepaid meter recoded, then effectively after Sunday, you're in trouble. You're not going to get power. And to do that after that will come at a cost to yourself. At this point in time, you can navigate that. But we thought, let's find out maybe what's the entire rationale behind it in the first place. Velimseni Mtiane is the SABC researcher who's covered the story extensively. Appreciate your time and thanks for joining us. So the one question we haven't asked, we know we have to do so, but what is the backstory around it? Why has there been a need from Eskom to get us to do this in the first place, to recode or pre-code them?
Sure. Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to your listeners. I think it's very important to put a context into this. I think firstly, it's not the issue of Eskom. I think by and large we have been saying this is done by Eskom, but it's not Eskom. The issue is with the standard transfer specifications prepaid meters. And these are type of meters that are available everywhere globally. So anyone everywhere who's using standard transfer specifications prepaid meters, they know that as from the 24th of November 2024, around about 8 in the evening, the software that is used on those prepaid meters expires or it becomes obsolete. So it means therefore that you need to recode so that you are able to continue using the same prepaid meter but on a new software that would have been recorded. And how it's done is that they need to give you a 20-digit key change token that you need to punch on your prepaid meter, and then it will tell you that you have been migrated into the new system. But what will actually happen is that I don't know why Eskom is not communicating this message effectively, that this is not our issue. The issue is with the type of the meters that people are having. These meters are very old, I must say, and that they're coming to an end is not a surprise. It's something that has been known in the previous years. But let's just put in context into this. It's not a shutdown of those meters. They will continue to work even after the 24th of November, but only if there is credit in them. So if someone chooses to buy more credit, it means even after the 24th, that credit does not become, that doesn't disappear, but it's still there on the system and it's still working. The problem is that you will never be able to put a new credit token.
You can't reload then after that. So whatever you do, if you're unsure, put 1,000 rands, let it last for a month if it takes that long anyway.
Absolutely,
but then after that, you have a problem. But you're saying that Eskom's not communicating the fact that it's something that they've had to implement from where? From elsewhere in terms of software?
Yeah, they I think the minister did try to do that, as well as the spokesperson Daphne Mukwena, but I don't know if it came a little too late, because when they talk about the deadline, it's not the deadline. They must just put it clearly that the type of a software that is there, it's not of our own. It expires everywhere. So it's beyond our control. So we can't extend it. But the other way to extend it, as I said, people with credit on their prepaid meters, they will have those meters working up until that credit expires. But they won't be able to recharge.
All right. And just lastly, we want to news very quickly. I understand that City Power, which effectively has their own system, they've been claiming about 99% of people have already changed it in the past. So I think I've done the same as well a few months back, in fact, right?
Yeah.
And this is Eskom specifically. So in both cases, you're saying if they don't have enough credit after and they want to, then put money into the machine a few days later, effectively they're going to be without power. What happens next? Very quickly.
Well, they won't have power. If your token runs out, the credit runs out after the 24th, it means then you will have to go to Eskom or go to your entity that supplies your electricity. They will have to charge you, or they will assess your case and see how they help you. But you must have at least a credit if you have not been recorded yet, so that at least for a few days or a week, you are able to go to Eskom and say, or your authority to say, look, I've not been recorded. Please help me, and then I'm still having a credit on my prepaid, so at least you have electricity in that manner.
So bottom line, if you're unsure, just make sure you've got enough credit for a couple of weeks at least to let that run in case there's a problem. Valemsedi Mtiane, the SABC researcher, appreciate your time here talking about the Eskom, thinking about Y2K. Remember that? What happens next? Let's get to the news. Now it's 4 o'clock with Ondela Mbana.
Thank you, Ashraf. In the top stories, Northern Cape residents encouraged to meet meter update deadline, and Russia supplies defense missiles to North Korea. For SAFM News, I am Ondela Mbana, and a very good afternoon. About 11,000 meters are yet to be upgraded across the Northern Cape before the Sunday deadline. The Provincial Cooperative Governance, Human Settlements and Traditional Affairs Department has encouraged residents and municipalities to ensure that the deadline is met. Tebogo Monyo is the department's spokesperson.
The Northern Cape Province has a total of just over 175,000 prepaid electricity meters, and by 20 November 2024, a total of 164,592 meters were reset, representing 94% of reset meters across all municipalities. MAC Bentley Fast applauds all municipalities that have reset 100% of their prepaid meters, and as the deadline looms, encourages all other municipalities, especially those with over 1,000 meters that must still be reset, to step up efforts.
Johannesburg City Power says 99% of its vending customers in affluent areas have had their meters recoded. This as prepaid meter customers scramble to ensure the recoding of their meters by the Sunday deadline. City Power spokesperson Isaac Mangena says they started their recoding campaigns 2 years ago.
With the City of Johannesburg, I think we started this process almost 2 years ago. The help of our councillors within the city to basically drum up the message to the residents about the fact that the units, as we know them, will come to an end on the 24th of November 2024. And that is when we started with the campaigns, basically to ensure that our residents are actually starting to trickle down and come to make sure that they update their meters, they make sure that they are ready when the 24th hit.
Meanwhile, Mangena says the queues of non-vending customers who had bypassed their electricity meters are starting to get long at the City Power Service delivery centres.
The problem that we're having is in non-affluent areas where we're still having the customers that were not vending to start with, but also that have bypassed the meters. So that is where we are focusing currently, and we have seen most of those customers flocking to our service delivery centres in different regions, and we also are starting to see an increase in the queues in those areas, with customers mostly from areas such as Alexandra, Lenasia, Eldorado Park. Naturena customers are also joining the queues to ensure that they don't find themselves locked out after the 24th of November.
The South African Deep Sea Trawling Industry Association has paid tribute to the over 6,000 people employed in the industry. Their spokesperson, Claire Ward, says that despite the dangers many make a living of fishing, she says that the Hague Deep Sea Trawl industry is the biggest in South Africa, contributing over 8.6 billion rand to the economy annually. In May this year, a sea harvest trawler sank, resulting in the death of 11 crew members. The government has instructed that a Marine Court of Inquiry should probe the incident. Ward says that it is important to recognize those who operate in the ocean's economy.
The deep sea fishery for Hague provides at least 6,600 direct jobs and also creates jobs in downstream industries. So it's a very significant industry and one that very often gets overlooked. So it's very nice on World Fisheries Day to acknowledge the importance of the industry and to acknowledge the people behind the industry who make it happen.
South Korea says Russia has for the first time provided North Korea with air defense missiles and equipment in return for its help in the war against Ukraine. This comes as satellite imagery appears to show that Russia is violating international sanctions, supplying North Korea with oil. The BBC's Jen McKenzie has the details.
Researchers have tracked North Korean tankers visiting an oil terminal in Russia's Far East 43 times over the past 8 months. From this, they estimate Moscow has given Pyongyang more than 1 million barrels of oil. And now it seems Moscow might have gone one step further. South Korea's national security advisor has said he believes that Vladimir Putin has given Kim Jong-un air defense systems. This has been Seoul's biggest fear all along, that as North Korea ramps up its support for Russia's invasion, oil will no longer suffice, and Mr. Putin will have to show his gratitude with weapons.
Recapping the top story, about 11,000 meters are yet to be upgraded across the Northern Cape before the Sunday deadline. I am Ondelambara for SAFM News. Headlines at 4:30.
In sports this hour, new Ultimate Championship dubbed to be athletics game changer, and Williams confident that Bafana can qualify for the 2026 FIFA World Cup, while Hamilton fosters as Verstappen struggles in Vegas. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M2 westbound in Crown has delays towards Main Reef Road. The M1 southbound in central Johannesburg is slow moving towards Crown Interchange. The R24 eastbound in Bedfordview has delays towards Gilulis Interchange. In Pretoria, the N1 northbound slow moving towards Garsfontein Road, and the N4 Witbank Highway westbound has delays towards the N1 highway. In KZN, the N2 northbound has a stationary vehicle before Umgeni Road. Umgeni Road westbound is slow moving through Springfield Park. In Pietermaritzburg, the N3 eastbound has heavy traffic towards Linfield Park, and the N3 eastbound is queuing at Hilton. In Cape Town, the N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound slow moving towards Hospital Bend. The M7 Jakes Hadwell Drive southbound queuing towards the R300 highway. The N1 outbound has a stationary truck reported before Durban Road. All lanes are open, and Strand Road eastbound in Stikland slow moving towards the R300 highway. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 106.2 FM in Zanin.
It's heating up on My Design Rules, South Africa's hottest interior design reality show, this Sunday evening at 7 on S3. Watch as our design duos get cooking on their kitchen spaces. It's the heart of the home, but with the stress of deadline hanging over their heads, it's causing nothing but high blood pressure. Channel your interior designer with My Design Rules, Sunday evenings at 7 only on S3.
The guaranteed 70 million rand Powerball jackpot is your reason to play this Friday. You heard right. Play Powerball for the guaranteed 70 million rand jackpot today, and you could be celebrating the millions. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old and play responsibly. E2 is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Well, I made the point earlier on about the many people we met last night at the SAFM annual lecture who came up and said, hey, I listened to the station, of course, but of course, I listened to the National Pulse, which is fantastic. One of them who didn't come, because I suppose you're in Durban, is Ridwana Hendricks, but saying, I'm one of those who listen avidly to your shows and I really enjoy it daily. Well, Ridwana, appreciate that, absolutely. Thank you so much. But to the many others that we saw and I had the pleasure to meet up face to face, fantastic. Okay, let's move on now to what happened last night. So that lecture was delivered by Dr. Naledi Pandor, remember the former International Relations Minister, now effectively out of formal politics. I asked her what she's doing with the time at this point in time. You know, she's now the chairperson of the Nelson Mandela Foundation, a very significant position. But she did say to me when we had supper afterwards, say, I'm spending a lot of time writing because I'm being called up to come and give talks, and I have to prepare my talks. And last night's one was an example. It's a 1 hour conversation. There's a lot of preparation that goes into it. So that's what's taking up her time. Now, the complete lecture is available on the SAFM Radio YouTube channel with visuals and everything. I take it you can get the audio version as well on safm.co. So just go to the website. So YouTube, you'll get the whole thing visual, right? But what we thought, let's pick out some of the most significant things she said last night, Naledi Pandor, because she spoke, and then there was also a conversation beyond that from a whole lot of, discussions around that from analysts, right? But amongst the points, firstly, she spoke about and responded to questions asked by many, or some authors, in fact, in the country about South Africa failing.
There are also disgraceful failures that make a mockery of our brave struggle for liberation. Some authors pose a question in their books today on South Africa. They ask, will it become like other countries in Africa? I'm often puzzled at this, as many democracies, whether African or not, all over the world, do fail from time to time. It's not the fact of being African that leads to an assumption of failure. It is a range of other matters. I believe our failures are inadequate service delivery, failure to radically restructure our economy to render it more inclusive and prosperous, poor ambition with respect to small and medium-sized business support and development, shamefully inadequate investment in rural development, and poor combined efforts at reversing inequality in our society. The most significant failure, in my view, is the inability to mobilize and utilize the strong social agency that was developed in mass struggle for purposes of self-liberation of communities today. The idea that political parties are able to provide all solutions and can only do so via a tender has denied the mass of South Africans a self-liberating role in advancing their local development.
And I think she's got her fingers on the pulse on that one, right? But she spoke more. She made this very important point that I feel strongly about as well, that we seem to have allowed mediocrity to trump excellence.
Corrupt local government has worsened this through corruption and inefficiency, and these institutions are bereft of ideas for remedying this dismal failing. We do not have effective, responsive sanctions for these failings, and we seem to allow mediocrity to trump excellence. Funny that I use the two together. Added to failings of government, Parliament and the executive is the matter of inadequate skills in the public service, lack of full commitment to a vibrant and actionable national social compact between the public and private sectors, and the terrible fact of widespread greed, corruption, and criminality in private and public sectors in our country. It seems that we are quickly evolving from a progressive, revolutionary nation into a regressive nation of those who steal from themselves.
And is she right about that? Well, Naledi Pandor also then touched on the obvious issue of the GNU.
The elections of this year led to the establishment of what many call New Hope. The creation of a government of national unity has, it seems, opened room for a refreshed South African unity of purpose and focused attention to our gaps and inadequacies. The inability of the public service to act on socio-economic commitments remains, I believe, a stranglehold on our progress. Given that South Africa is rich in intellectual resources, it may be useful to focus on investigating the causes of the malaise. Unlike many countries on the continent of Africa, we as a government allocate resources to all key sectors, yet these funds are misappropriated and misspent, and there are often few results to show for public investments.
So, what then does Dr. Naledi Pandor have to say about the C word, corruption?
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels, and the large number of reported incidents imply that many do not regard dishonesty as a shame. We must be harsher on corruption and must find community-based ways of shunning those who practice corruption. Politicians accused of corruption and who fail to explain satisfactorily must be shunned by communities so that they know that we are intolerant of criminals. This includes gangsters and tsotsis. Corruption is a cancer, and no society that permits its existence can survive. The scourge of crime in our country also needs strong, decisive action by all of us. It is a significant barrier to our development.
And I'm sure many will nod in approval about that, isn't it? She also raised the issue of gender-based violence.
Our most difficult challenge is gender-based violence, especially against women and girl children. Efforts by government, civil society organizations, and law enforcement have not curbed this abuse. It is in this that joint local social action is urgently needed. Communities and neighbors must stand against and defeat all perpetrators of gender-based violence. Of course, human rights often pose difficult challenges for each one of us in our troubled society. How do we, for example, curb hate speech without infringing the rights of individuals to free expression or the rights of organizations? In the area of customary law, which many of us seek to protect, how should democracy and the human rights we enjoy be promoted? There is a great deal for all of us to continue learning as our democracy matures. I think the active appropriation of our own voices has been an exciting advance of our democracy. South Africans speak up and speak out. This robust social engagement has been supported by the growth of community radio and the development of progressive credentials in various media houses.
And then something that's very, very topical. Naledi Pandor talking about managing immigration.
We also fail at managing something like immigration, leading to tense relations between us and poor economic migrants from other African countries, and straining our relationship with our continent. We are an economic powerhouse in Africa and can do much better on these matters. We have rather made fellow Africans resentful, dependent on our economy, and lax at addressing their own national challenges and opportunities with our support. I do not believe we are inherently xenophobic, but ongoing administrative and strategic failures are trapping us in that description. None of these are irresolvable problems. If we work together as a nation, we can overcome them and become that people Nelson Mandela felt he could go to prison for.
And then lastly, she responded to the news that just broke yesterday regarding the International Criminal Court and Benjamin Netanyahu.
Today, as the world confronts a very toxic geopolitical context and a decline in international progressive morality, we as South Africans cannot ignore our obligation to join in assisting all those who suffer harm and oppression, such as the people of Palestine. And we are so happy an arrest warrant has been approved by the ICC. Our lesson and experience is that when harm is done to others in a set of actions that mirror our own history, we must, as this people, stand ready to honor those who volunteered for us by acting.
Right, that's Naledi Pandor. Let's get your reaction. 0614 104 107, or you can call in. This is the National Pulse.
It's heating up on My Design Rules, South Africa's hottest interior design reality show, this Sunday evening at 7 on S3. Watch as our design duos get cooking on their kitchen spaces. It's the heart of the home, but with the stress of deadline hanging over their heads, it's causing nothing but high blood pressure. Channel your interior designer with My Design Rules, Sunday evenings at 7 only on S3.
Are you looking for the best spectacle and sunglass deal? At Specsavers, get a free pair of branded prescription sunglasses up to 3,200 Rand. Affordable eye care, Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
So we'll be chatting to Kes Kuvadia as part of our Friday fireside chat that comes up, well, after 5 o'clock for an hour. In the meantime, let's get reaction to the Naledi Pandor lecture.
Hi, Ashraf. Dr. Naledi Pandor, I think it's also easy for her to criticize the government that she was in. Now that you're out, you're making all those statements, right? Well, it's good that at least she's saying it. But I think she should have had more impact when she was in the government and criticizing all those colleagues that were doing the wrong. And that will give more impact than now. Because it's easy when you're out, but when you're in, and when the heat is on, and you want to say the truth, nothing but the truth, that's an impact. But anyway, Ashraf, it's Daniel, Devin, God bless you, bye-bye.
Thank you, Daniel. But by the way, she has been critical of government. Just maybe follow the story of the last few months or year, in fact. Having said that, in terms of what she said last night, she could only say it because she was asked to deliver a lecture last night, not 1 year ago.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. These are wonderful and wisdom from Dr. Naledi Pandor. But unfortunately, she's telling the wrong people. She should have said these words to the colleagues in the parliament, especially the ANC. Now, what makes her to say these things outside parliament and outside the ANC? She should have done this like Mcebisi Jonas, saying it straightforward whether she was going to be kicked out or not. Now she's saying it outside to try to sound wonderful.
Okay, well, maybe she did say it. Maybe we just don't know that.
Good afternoon, Miss Ashraf. It's Frederick Tracker. Miss Ashraf, Umama Naledi Pandor speaks very well. But these things that she said at the lecture, these are the things that she was supposed to say in parliament, in front of her colleagues. These were the things that she was supposed to tell them. Or you tsotsis, you criminals, you are stealing from the poor. Can we, lift up our socks and do better for the people? Because it doesn't help to be lecturing when you're going out of the office. But your colleagues, you were with them right there.
Okay. Everybody commenting about why I say so now. Anybody wants to comment on the content of what Naledi Pandor has actually said?
Ashraf, good afternoon. All these statements and things that Pandor is talking about, the corruption, the greed, the inefficiencies, all of that, was it ever spoken about by her when she was, in the ministries? Because, I mean, I don't think she ever fought for those officials to be ousted. So, yeah, it's okay to speak like this after the fact. Teresa, Cape Town.
Thanks for that, Teresa. Well, I'll tell you what, in fact, all of you are asking the same question. So what we need to be doing is I want to get Keys to maybe Google, if we get some time, hopefully today, about some of the things she said while in government in the last 6 months or year or 2 years. And beyond that, okay? Right, let's move on to another issue that it's rather puzzling because, and it really talks about identity, which in many ways is similar to the what we're talking about now, just who are you, right? So there's been a story of the MMC for Human Settlement in the city of Joburg, that's Councillor Mlungisi Mabaso. Well, he's issued a warning to the public about a scam involving fraudulent identity documents bearing his own likeness. Now, the MMC is on the line, so let's find out what actually happened. Appreciate your time, MMC. Thanks for connecting on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon and good afternoon to the listeners.
Thank you. Appreciate your warning. What happened to you?
Well, thank you very much. I was made aware that there is a fraudulent ID card with my face, but with different surname and the name. But that ID is used to legitimize the fraudulent on the illegal sale of RDP houses.
Okay, do we still have you there? We seem to have lost you for a sec, MMC.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we lost you for a moment, so maybe just repeat that first point you made again, please.
Oh, I was actually saying, my apologies for that, I'm on the road. I was actually saying that there is a fraudulent ID card that is circulating on social media. People are using that to legitimize the fraudulent activities that occurs on social media around the illegal sales of RDP houses.
Okay, and they are using, let's be specific, they are using your likeness and your name or not?
They are not using my name. They are using a different name and surname, but it's my face. So they took my photo and they pasted it on that ID card, and they made copies. They went to certify that ID copy in one of the police stations in Johannesburg. So they are using that to legitimize their fraudulent activities on social media. I've then reported the matter to the Deputy National Commissioner, who has assigned one of his officials in the office to look into the matter, because we got worried when we saw that fraudulent ID copy was actually certified in a police station, and we are asking ourselves how that actually happened. But we are hoping that the investigation will actually get to the bottom of what actually happened.
Okay, so you didn't get any answers in terms of asking how. You haven't got the responses yet from, because you should be able to know which police station, right?
Well, we do know the police station because the stamp is written. It's Florida Police Station, where the fraudulent ID card was fight. Maybe the police station will say it's also a fake stamp. We don't know. So the investigation will actually outline exactly what actually happened with the certification of that fraudulent document.
Okay, and very quickly, what has happened since? I mean, so you obviously found out from somebody else, and what have they tried to do? The strange thing is it's in your face, but not in your name. I would have thought that they would have actually doctored the name as well, because that carries even more significance.
Yeah, they only took the face. They pasted it on the ID card. But what they do, they are, posters on social media and adverts of selling of RDP houses, and they are promising people on the allocation list, and they pay a certain amount of money, and to try and legitimize that, they then use our faces as the MMC for Human Settlements. They also use the face of the former MEC. They use the face of the present MEC of Human Settlements in Gauteng. So it's a syndicate that runs on social media, but now they use our faces to legitimize their fraudulent activities.
Okay, well, of course, we need to be careful. Thanks for bringing it to our attention. I'm so sorry it's happened to you. But as you know, these sort of fake ID impersonations has happened to thousands of people in different forms, sometimes ID documents, sometimes even social media platforms in terms of your avatar around that. So my apology for that, and that's Councillor Mlungisi Mabaso, the MMC for Human Settlements in the city of Joburg, effectively warning us to say, don't let it happen to you, it's happened to me. Here's the news headlines for Thondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. In your news headlines, head of the Special Investigations Unit, Advocate Andy Motibi, says strengthening legislation will help in the protection of whistleblowers. About 11,000 meters yet to be upgraded across the Northern Cape before the Sunday deadline. And Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov says his government is increasing air defense capabilities in response to Russia's ballistic missile attack on the Ukrainian city of Dnipro. A full update follows at the top of the hour with Greg Hose.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound is slow moving towards Omonde. The N1 southbound in Midrand has a crash before Olifantsfontein Road. In Bedfordview, the R24 eastbound has delays towards Giluli's interchange, and the N3 southbound queuing towards Van Buren Road. In KZN, the N2 northbound has a stationary vehicle before Mgeni Road. The N3 westbound has a crash before the M13 Paradise Valley interchange. The N2 southbound has a stationary vehicle after Mgeni Road, and the N3 westbound in Pietermaritzburg has a stationary truck after Ashburton exit. In Cape Town, the N2 outbound slow moving towards the R300 highway. The M3 southbound is slow moving towards Rhodes Drive. The M5 northbound slow moving towards Kuburg interchange, and the N7 checks Havel Drive southbound is slow moving at Voortrekker Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tumin Khapele.
Right, to me, let's talk athletics.
Yes, World Athletics President Sebastian Coe says that the new Ultimate Championship team event, officially unveiled by the sports governing body, will be a definite game changer for track and field. The inaugural event will be held in Budapest from the 11th to the 13th of September in 2026, and it's going to be staged every 2 years to fulfill World Athletics' ambition of having a global championship every year. Now, the event boasts a record-setting prize pot of $10 million. That's around 180.6 million rand. And World Athletics says it's the largest ever offered in track and field, with champions set to receive around $150,000 rather, which is 2.7 million rand. Now, each session will last 3 hours, and athletes are going to represent themselves and their national teams wearing national kits. In rugby, Springbok assistant coach Mzwandile Stick and captain Siya Kolisi says that the Boks are determined to deliver a complete 80-minute performance and finish the season on a high note against Wales in Cardiff tomorrow. Now, the test, which kicks off at 20-6 South African time, is the last of the Castlelager outgoing tour to the UK, and the Boks 13th for 2024. And victory would see the Boks complete the season with 11 wins, while they are also aiming to win all their matches on their November tour for the first time since 2013. In football, following Bafana Bafana's qualification for the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco, South African football legend Mark Williams says that he's confident that they will qualify for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Currently tied with Rwanda at the top of Group C on 7 points after 4 matches, Coach Hugo Bruce Chargers will resume their World Cup qualifiers at home to Lesotho and away to Benin in March 2025.
Oh, listen here, if I was the coach, I was probably going to answer you that. But, it's a tough thing because everybody wants to play in the World Cup. I think it's, it's there for the taking. They got a couple of difficult away teams, away results that they need to get. But look, at the end of the day, it's all about their belief.
In motorsports, championship leader Max Verstappen struggled on first day of practice at the Las Vegas Grand Prix, ending it down in 17th place in his Red Bull. McLaren's Lando Norris, who has a slim chance of the championship, fared better, ending up second fastest behind Mercedes driver Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton topped both sessions, first from teammate George Russell and then Norris. Now Verstappen, who can clinch his fourth driver's title this weekend, ended up 2 seconds off the pace after a difficult day. On that note, it's a wrap from my side. I'll have more in the next hour, and then we hear from the Manchester United new manager.
Oh, really? Are we going to interview you?
No, we'll just hear what he said in his first press conference.
I just thought. All right, we'll wait for him. Thank you.
Is there ever a bad time for a good conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Hey, want to check your TV license balance conveniently? Look no further. Our SMS service allows you to do just that. By sending a message containing your ID or TV license number to 44210, you can quickly access your balance without needing multiple inquiries or waiting on hold. Plus, standard SMS rates apply. Take advantage of this efficient method to stay informed and streamline your payment process today. T's and C's apply.
Imagine if every child born today and tomorrow and the next day and the next had enough love, enough food, enough safety and brain power. Today and tomorrow and the next day and the next. Together, we will change our future. Visit holdmyhand.org.za.
Andile, the CEO of a multinational corporation, is driving home with his daughter.
Dad, why is the toothpaste so stingy?
Stingy? Well, she makes sure everyone gets something.
Does every electrical company get something?
Yes, they're covered by Old Mutual Corporate's employee benefits.
Even Abdul.
Of course, he gets retirement benefits.
And Sisampa on that big machine.
She gets group risk cover if that big machine hurts her.
Wow, that's amazing, Dad.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, let's get to the markets with Paswane Mpatlele, Senior Accounts Manager at Makwe Fund Managers. Paswane, let's talk about it, local and global.
Afternoon, Ashraf, and your listeners. Well, looking into the scene, it was a PMI day. Ashraf, business activity data came from the globe, and it helped investors move their money as they get more insight into the economic developments of different regions. Looking at the likes of Eurozone, their business activity reported a contraction, sitting under 50, around 48. This was one of the biggest in a while. Rate of change in declines as private sector recorded weaker new orders as demand declined, affecting even their service sector, which was an anchor. And while prices, they are seeing it rise, and this has had a negative effect on the euro. UKs have recorded some similar data set with a contraction also, as the manufacturing sector is still under pressure, under 50. The US is still to report theirs to determine how the output is sitting at, but it's currently, according to current market pricing, it looks like it's kneeling to just a softer print. Other concerns in the market in development is on Trump's election, on Treasury. Investors want to hear and wait to see who is it Basent or Wash. But more immediate concerns is the geopolitical tensions going into a weekend with Russia and Ukraine still playing it out. Investors have been buying a bit of protection in the short-term bond yields, have reflected this being lower. Dollar have been at overbought levels above that 107 level. Gold was up 0.7% at $2,690 an ounce. Oil was weaker on demand concerns as traders are expecting more production delays. We've seen it ease down its losses to just 0.2% at $74.15 a barrel. Meanwhile, Bitcoin continues to flirt with the 100,000 rand dollar mark. It's currently sitting at 98, and it's been supported by the developments from the likes of SEC chairperson saying that he will step down. He's been being very tough on crypto. Trump's plans to have a specialized team in the White House. This has helped to provide some positive sentiment on that crypto space. Equities in general are looking for weekly gains, which is a positive. and they're supported by some of the gains we see today, even though they are marginal. We see US Dow is up 0.2, S&P up 0.1, Nasdaq is flat, Europe is up, FTSE is up 1.2, DAX up 0.5, CAC up 0.2. I guess those rate cuts that are expected coming from that region would support investors to buy in. Locally, we are up 0.2, supported by resource sector plus 2.4% up. Industrials financials are down respectively 0.3 and 0.4. Looking into the FX market, the rand is relatively weaker, Ashraf, yes, but it's holding its ground in this context of these global volatility developments, and that's thanks to the better economic prospects we have for South Africa, especially looking at the near term Q1 to closer to Q2. Rand against the dollar sitting at 18.09, rand against the euro is at 18.85, and rand against the pound 22.66.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for that. Lots to hold on to for the rest of the weekend as we then evaluate all of that on Monday. Paswani, you have a great weekend. We'll chat again soon, right? Okay, we're going to get, let's take some of your calls. By the way, let me remind you, we'll chat to Cass Kubandi. Now, he's done lots of things. Currently, CEO of BUSA, Business Unity South Africa, but done many other things before that, also head of the Banking Council before. So we'll have him as my fireside chat guest on every Friday, which we do. So he comes up after 5. Do not miss that. I'll get your calls in a moment.
X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
Right, Bonakele, you've got a comment. Go ahead. Bonakele, hello. No? Okay, we'll get to Bonakele in a moment. Right, there's further comments regarding Naledi Pando's speech that we then played. Some excerpts from, please listen to the entire thing on YouTube, just SAFM on YouTube channel, but also as a podcast, safm.coza, right?
Yeah, Ashraf Klein here, Kobecha. Yeah, just to reiterate something you said, I don't know if we've been following Naledi for the past few months as South Africans, because the lady has indeed been critical of the organization and the government itself from within. But unfortunately, she is one of the few voices that have been loud about this, Yeah, I just want to say, many a listener maybe is not aware of this, because she is one of the few that did criticize from within, yeah. Thank you, Brian, again.
Well, thank you. I mean, of course, we can't play it after 5 only because we got the fireside chat guest today. But if we can squeeze anything in the next few minutes about some of her pronouncements before she got out of government on May 29, we will certainly play it or talk about it.
Ashraf, I take what Naledi Pandor is now articulating with a pinch of salt. Naledi Pandor used to be the Minister of Home Affairs, and she was given all the rights as well as the authority, to fix whatever it was wrong on immigration while she was a minister at Home Affairs. Now she's speaking like an activist, the person who's outside, the political arena, who's fighting for the rights of other people. No, we really, some of us, not buy what, she's saying. And this is actually the bad attitude that must be fixed. Once a person is out of office, now she wants to be an agent.
But
Thank you.
But it sounds like you know the person, you've had a chat with her, and must she say nothing at all? Would you rather have her at a lecture and then say absolutely nothing at all?
Afternoon, Ashraf. Well, Naledi Pandor's analysis through the input she made yesterday was spot on. It provides a theoretical framework on how can we move forward. But also it reflects her humanity as a person, that she has a great love of humanity in defense of the downtrodden anywhere in the world. She's a true revolutionary whom we must emulate. Major from Guatemala.
I must say that point you were spot on. She's got this absolute commitment to humanity, and I've had the privilege of meeting her on many occasions, including last night, not just on the platform. We had supper afterwards and talking there. Check it out on my Instagram account. You'll see some of those pictures there. And I'll post it on Facebook and Twitter later on too, okay? But here's the thing. over the years, her consistency to excellence has always been there. Her consistency to being upright has always been there. Her consistency to being anti-corruption has always been there. That is why when people have tried to slur her, she's come back strongly and fearlessly, and she always has done that. So I don't know where the change has come from, what people are saying now she's changed. And her commitment to human rights around the world has been there 100%. So I see. Okay, let's get some calls. Sandile, go ahead. Hi.
Hey, how are you, Ashraf?
Yeah, go ahead. Your point?
Good. I wanted to start by making a request to yourself and other program hosts that, because I've been observing that some of you, they've got this tendency of wanting to impose their views when they're actually interacting with us as the listeners. In my expectation, the program host, yes, they are to ask, pose questions whenever it is actually necessary and engage in a conversation by asking for facts and evidence and all that, but not to try to impose their beliefs and opinion, because I believe that the program is actually designed for us.
Okay, I think hold it, Sandile. You can't. There's only 1 minute, and I think he's told you that, right? So there's only 1 point. There's only time for 1 point, and you've given the point already, right? But I'll respond to that point that you've just given now, right? And which is this, right? I think it's a bit of both. The entire show is not only dependent on your opinion. It's you, the caller, and your views are important. They really are, okay? Yes. It's the listener, right? So that means the listener who's not even calling in, who's listening to us, you and me talking, their feelings are important. Then there's me asking questions. Then there's the guest that we speak to. And then beyond all of that, there's what is the actual reality. And all that comes to the fore. Now, this being a talk station, it's partly we ask questions, but if we don't express any opinions, would you really want to listen to someone as dull as that? At least you know where, like if I say, I think Naledi Pandor has been formidable. So you don't have to agree with me, but at least you know what I think. Imagine if it's only, oh, okay, thanks for the call, or say what you want. We can't do that. Sandile, thanks for that call. Let's get another thought. Mike in Durban, go ahead.
Hello, Ashraf.
Yeah.
Ashraf, it's very disappointing when Naledi Pandor is saying what she's saying and people are not happy about it. Why didn't she do it? If I know South African politics, even if she said this in Parliament or wherever she said it, will still not be enough. At least she's got the guts to say it, and she's saying it. That's the one point. And the other thing is, what's scary in South Africa, we need credible black leaders, people who we can trust. We are recycling the same people. We need the people of Tuli Madonsela and all these kind of people. The latest party that has registered now, even they, I mean, look, they call themselves Progressive Black Party, but can't we just have untainted people to run this country? And one last thing, Ashraf, is Israel. Blinken and Biden have been lying to the world that they wanted a ceasefire. It's shocking, honestly.
Okay, got that. Thanks for that point. Well, look, I mean, yes, people just don't. They just have a poor memory about Naledi Pandor in terms of her stance completely. And she's been fearless even in Parliament. And she's been one of the few people when often people have said Naledi for president. She's like, no, not ever. No need for position. Even last night it came up to say, you should have stood for president. She says, no, not ever. Never wanted it. I don't want it. Thank you. Meaning she's happy to go out on her terms and has always been in service, on the one hand, to her country and through Parliament and to the people of South Africa. Okay, there's a couple of more voice notes I want to play.
Hi, Ashraf. This is Kahlisa from Afigeng. Look, for a lot of people that are criticizing Dr. Naledi Pandor, many of them might not know, but internally within the ANC, some of these issues have been raised raised very sharply and debated within the ANC. And I think on the issue of immigration, she has hit the nail on the head. And I think as a country, we really need to pay close attention because we are losing our strong position as a country in the continent because of these lack of administrative responsibilities we have.
Well, there you are, and you see, you're right. People don't know. She has raised it internally, and I'm aware of it, and you're confirming that.
Good afternoon. I think the issues raised by
former Minister Naledi Pandor are very critical. But the unfortunate part is that when she was in government, he could not raise these particular issues. They are spot on, all of them. In particular, the issue that regarding with the International Criminal Court of Law against Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel. So we are very welcoming these developments. It's Wandile Ngaba.
And I think, Wandile, here's another thought, okay? Show me which political party in South Africa where a politician will debate vigorously within a party internally. That's fine. But publicly in Parliament, for example, speaking out against your own party, show me which one leader has done that and survived. Seriously. Show me one. Who's the one South African who went against the party line regarding Jacob Zuma? I just forget his name now. Ben Turok, I think it was. You show me one. Okay? Seriously. Right, let's see if I've got time for one more quick message here.
Ashraf, there's nothing I can write home about Naledi Pandor. She was just a green-eyed lady for the president. They failed dismally to bring back the Guptas. You see, they also failed dismally to assist Ukraine because they were scared of Putin. So there's nothing I can write home about that lady. Thank you. It's Willie Nkuma.
Okay, got that, Willie. There we are. You know, I often say the show is called The National Pulse for a reason. One of the things, and I'll say that from the previous call about the role of a talk show host, it gives us a good sense of the barometer of a country, what we're thinking, what we're feeling right now, and where your pulses are. And I certainly have a sense of what it is right now.
It's Valley Weekend on a high note with Final Analysis on Sunday night. Tune in to Final Analysis every Sunday night and stand a chance to win a hamper worth 10,000 Rand, courtesy of Diadora and SABC Sport. Final Analysis, the premium wrap-up show, giving you match highlights, final scores, post-game reactions, expert analysis, and sport news weekend roundup of the local and international arena. Catch Final Analysis every Sunday at 8 p.m. on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and 10 p.m. on SABC 3. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We've Got It All. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
So why should I use We Buy Cars if I want to sell my vehicle?
Because We Buy Cars buys cars.
But will I get the right price?
Of course. We Buy Cars buys thousands of vehicles and knows exactly what every vehicle is worth. Their buyers deliver exceptional service and pay you immediately.
And how do I know what they'll pay for my vehicle?
It's easy. Visit webuycars.co.za or use the We Buy Cars app. Follow the simple steps and voila, you'll get a fantastic price for your car. We Buy Cars. Quick, easy, the best.
The SAFM playwriting competition is back. After receiving hundreds of entries last year from South African writers of different ages and ethnic groups sharing their stories, now the time is yours. It's your story. You decide. SAFM invites all writers to explore the medium of sound, the theatre of the mind, and to create a 1-hour radio play in English. Get writing now and submit your play before the 3rd of February 2025 for a chance to win one of 3 large cash prizes. For more information, visit safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Who says talking never solves anything? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Okay, let's move on to another issue which I think is quite fascinating, and it's about Stride IT Business Solutions developing platforms that addresses critical challenges in the local music industry. So, launched in 2019, the BCS Digital Innovation Awards were created as a platform to recognize digital innovation excellence in South Africa. But there's so much more around it. Let's find out more about it with Tebogo Potwane, who was the Stride IT Business Solutions MD. Tebogo, good to connect with you on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Right, so tell me where we are regarding, just the role that that your company has played in developing these Digital Innovation Awards.
Yes, so I think at Stride, our mandate was always just to use technology to solve problems. When we, for years, I mean, everyone loves music and we've all enjoyed it. And for years, we've heard about how underpaid and sort of underserviced the music artists themselves were. And we took it, to heart, and we partnered with Sampra. So a big thank you to them to allow us to actually develop for them Sampra Connect, which essentially is a new platform by which all music artists are able to sign up, become members of Sampra, notify Sampra of any new sound recordings, as well as then earn royalties and get paid in accordance.
So it's interesting, I mean, to go back in terms of when it was first started, when you guys first created what you have, what was the plan? Because obviously you're trying to solve a problem. So what did you see as the problem, and how then did you go about solving it in terms of the bricks and mortar, putting it into place?
Yeah, I think primarily it's a data-related issue, right? Music is about crediting the right contributors to the different songs that we listen to and play, and it's really just about finding then who the correct people to pay are. So what we set out to do is we set out to create a platform where we're able to house all of that data. We're able to expose that data through a online portal so that there's transparency. So every music artist and their record companies are able to sign in, view exactly what the music that they have been credited to is, as well as manage that for themselves, right? So if there's any new recordings that they've released, they're able to do so. A big part of the problem previously was that there was just a lack of knowledge of who the different performing artists are, and the aim here was to ensure that that doesn't happen any further. And also, there's some musicians who are part of the song that are not necessarily featured on the title of the song, but they are your session musicians, your bands, people who sort of are in the background, and allowing them as well to have access to see all the music which they've contributed to and rightly earn royalties from. So we essentially enabled that entire management of the performers themselves, the management of their repertoire or their collection of music, and then lastly, correctly matching the usage of that music. So in other words, the streams and the airplay that music receives to the correct people, and in other words, pay the correct royalties for the correct.
And how has it been received by industry stakeholders?
Yeah, I think industry's been quite happy. We've seen quite a large uptake of new members onto Sampra directly. We've also seen a massive improvement of the data relating to the crediting of the different performers on the different songs. It's really just improved the overall quality of the data, but also the distributable amount of the royalties which are collected every year.
So where do you go from here? I mean, everybody likes to win awards and acknowledgements, but there's an important business leverage that comes in on that, right? Where to next?
Sure. So I think on our side, we'd like to firstly strengthen the platform by looking at other technologies that are emergent. We've been looking at some AI and how we can use that to better improve the matching process. So when music gets played, of course, there are already broadcast monitoring services, but we want to ensure that the matching of the music to the correct repertoire, so the correct sort of song in our database, that is improved. But also we're looking to take the product global. So as mentioned, Sampra is our partner locally. We've had some engagements with a international body called SCAPRA that has 52 other CMOs around the world. So we've actually done an integration to them as well. So actually that's something to mention, that not only will our South African artists be paid for their local contributions, but with this platform, they now are given exposure to the international market as well. So all international music, or all South African music that is played internationally, they will also be earning royalties for. So we're also looking to partner with those collective management organizations or copyright societies globally, and essentially take it further. And I think locally we're still building solutions for different companies. We are a custom software company, so we are looking to receive any sort of business problem, do the technical consulting, and ultimately deliver on the delivery or the development of that project as well.
Okay, it all sounds very, very good. So there you are. Cool to be a winner. BCX Digital Innovation Awards, and the winner in this case here goes to Stride IT for your work in developing critical challenges and addressing them in the local music industry. So fascinating and great chatting to you. Thanks for your time, Tebogo Potwane. Much appreciated. That's the MD.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Stride IT. Right, we're going to chat to Cass Kuvadia. We'll chat to him as part of our Friday fireside chat coming up after the news, which is right now.
Thank you, Ashraf. Call for increased protection for whistleblowers in Ukraine to boost its air defences. Good day to you. The head of the SIU, Andy Motibi, says strengthening legislation will help in the protection of whistleblowers. Many are killed, like a former Gauteng Health Department official who blew the lid on multi-million rand corruption activities within the department. Motibi says in many government institutions, the focus tends to be on silencing whistleblowers rather than probing the allegations. He was speaking at an anti-fraud and corruption dialogue in Pretoria.
There's a legislation called Protected Disclosure Act. That legislation, to a large extent, regulates, between employer and employee. We need a wider legislation that protects wider whistleblowers, not just between, the employer and employee. And there's a work that's going on at the Department of Justice, led by the Department of Justice and the Ministry, to review the legislation.
Several non-compliant spaza shops have been shut down during a raid on spaza shops in Soweto. Law enforcement officials have also uncovered ammunition and other illegal goods and products. More than 20 children have died in the past few months after allegedly consuming contaminated food items allegedly bought from spaza shops. The city of Johannesburg's Namoy Mnisi led the operation.
In the first one that we went to, we discovered the live ammunition. SAPS was here with us. We found the employees and the big boss arrived. The big boss does have legal documents to be here in the country, but the employee does not have.
About 11,000 metres yet to be upgraded across the Northern Cape before Sunday's deadline. Eskom and consumers have reset more than 164,000 prepaid electricity metres in the province. Spokesperson for the Provincial Cooperative Governance, Human Settlements and Traditional Affairs Department, Tebogo Monyo.
The Northern Cape Province has a total of just over 175,000 prepaid electricity meters, and by 20 November 2024, a total of 164,592 meters were reset, representing 94% of reset meters across all municipalities. MAC Bentley Fast applauds all municipalities that have reset 100% of their prepaid meters, and as the deadline looms, encourages all other municipalities, especially those with over 1,000 meters that must still be reset, to step up efforts.
Some bereaved families in Limpopo have expressed concern at the poor state of the Elim Hospital mortuary outside Louis Trichardt. The families allege that the freezers are dysfunctional, leading to the bodies decomposing. This family member wants to remain anonymous.
They called us last week Sunday. Our loved one passed away only on Friday. Leading up to that Sunday, they told us that we should come and collect her because the mortuary refrigerators are not working. When I entered the mortuary, the smell was unbearable. I could not breathe inside that mortuary. I found her body laid down on the floor and not inside the fridge.
5 Lesotho nationals have been sentenced to 4 life terms each for the murder of 4 waste collectors at a dumping site in Selby in Johannesburg. They appeared in the High Court sitting in Palm Ridge, east of Johannesburg. A state witness testified that the accused fired indiscriminately at the deceased following a confrontation over ownership claims to the dumping site. Xoliso Makiki reports.
Nthule Montle Motlalentwankwe Thokwane Palo Tshele Lesala and Tifelo Mukotla were charged with multiple offences, including 4 counts of murder and violation of the Immigration Act. The court sentenced the first accused to 4 life terms for murder, 15 years for unlawful possession of a firearm, 2 years for unlawful possession of ammunition, and 1 month for being in the country illegally. The other 4 accused each received 4 life terms for murder and 1 month for violating the Immigration Act.
Ukrainian defense minister says his government is increasing air defense capabilities in response to Russia's ballistic missile attack on the Ukrainian city of Dnipro. He was addressing a media briefing in Stockholm alongside his Swedish counterpart Pal Johnson. Johnson said the Russian attack would not discourage Sweden's support for Ukraine.
We've seen throughout this war that Russia systematically is attacking your critical infrastructure and civilian targets as well, which is not in accordance to international law, which is very, very critical of. This seems to be some kind of signaling from Russia as well, and trying to discourage us for supporting Ukraine, but that will not work.
The top story, the head of the SIU says strengthening legislation will help in the protection of whistleblowers. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Khos.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 southbound is queuing towards Malibongwe Drive exit. The M1 southbound is slow moving through Crown interchange towards Boysons. In Midrand, the N1 northbound slow moving towards Samland Road, and the N1 northbound has a stationary vehicle reported near Allendale Road. In KZN, the N2 northbound has a stationary vehicle before Mgeni Road. In Pietermaritzburg, the N3 eastbound is queuing towards Linfield Park, and the N3 eastbound queuing at Hilton. And the R103 southbound in Ashburton queuing towards Linfield Park. In Cape Town, the N2 outbound has a crash reported at Brautenburg Road. The M3 southbound is slow moving towards Rhodes Drive. The M5 northbound slow moving towards Kuburg interchange. And on the N1 inbound, a crash before Okabongo Road, queuing traffic in both directions. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
Well, coming up in your sports this hour, it's about to start as Klein withdraws from Wales Test, and we hear from Manchester United coach after his first press conference. More details at 5:30.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105 FM in Mokopane.
Svali Weekend on a high note with Final Analysis on Sunday night. Tune in to Final Analysis every Sunday night and stand a chance to win a hamper worth 10,000 Rand, courtesy of Theodora and SABC Sport. Final Analysis, the premium wrap-up show, giving you match highlights, final scores, post-game reactions, expert analysis, and sport news weekend roundup of the local and international arena. Catch Final Analysis every Sunday at 8 p.m. on SABC Sport on TTT Channel 4 and 10 p.m. on SABC 3. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCsport.com. Hashtag We've Got It All. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game. Enjoy these fantastic payday savings at Clicks until the 27th of November. Buy Clicks 2-ply toilet paper, 18 rolls, 2 for 105 Rand per pack and 1 for 120 Rand. Get Huggies Disposable Nappies Gold Jumbo Pack or Extra Care Value Pack, now $239.99 per pack. And buy Clicks Jumbo Kitchen Roller Towel, 2 for 110 Rand. Clicks, feel good, pay less.
Okay, this is probably the last time I'm going to mention this because we've been talking about it the entire month, and it's all got to do with with your Eskom meter. So deadline, that 24th of November, that's Sunday, and a reminder for you, that prepaid meter has got to be recoded. So if it doesn't get recoded, you're not going to have any power after Sunday. So what you need to do is, it's been pre-coded already, but you need to get the tokens yourself now, and there's no charge for that, to any Eskom approved electricity outlet. Buy it, and then you'll be okay. And then the Eskom teams will be there to help you. Now, failing that, you'd have a situation where on Monday, if you're not charged up, then you're going to find yourself out of power. So big reminder, and I think we all should take that advice. As far as City Power is concerned, by the way, that one, they seem to be, it's a different story completely, but they say they're covered by like 99%.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
So, by the way, every Friday we have this fireside chat where we invite someone in and we simply chill. But when I say chill, we talk about anything and everything, the type of thing that you would have when you have your own fireside chat. And it could be family, it could be about friends, it could be about politics, naturally. It could well be about sport, it could be about family heritage. I don't know. Anything comes up, completely unscripted. We'll see where that goes. Now, let me tell you, in the context of our earlier conversation about Naledi Pandor, I had her as my fireside chat guest about a month ago, in fact, right? So please listen to that. Go to sfm.coza. You'll find it up as a podcast. Just look for the National Pulse. You'll find all the podcasts of the show there. Look for it. I'll try and actually post it on social media as well later on. But right now, it's the turn of Kes Kuvadia, who is my guest. So, Kes, first of all, great of you to come in. Thanks for giving off your Friday afternoon to be my fireside chat guest.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thanks.
And to get the title right, currently, what? Business Unity CEO?
Business Unity South Africa CEO,
Okay,
yeah.
and I'm saying that because I've sometimes battled to cope with for a long time it was the Banking Council.
Yeah.
How long were you the CEO there?
About 15 years.
Well, you see, that answers the question. But I want to repeat something that I told Temba, my producer, the other day, and I said, my first encounter with you when I was much, much younger was when I moved into an area called Homestead Park. And for those who don't know, that's like about 2 kilometers from Auckland Park right now. But that area close to Mayfair was it was a white area, and people of color were moving into those areas. And naturally, you're not allowed to do that at that time. It was before 1994, of course. And people were being harassed and victimized and all sorts of things. And there was a organization called ACTSTOP, Action Committee to Stop Evictions under the Group Areas Act. And when I told Temba Dlamini, I said, you know what, Kes Kuvadia played a huge role in ACTSTOP. And I know how you and all the guys around you literally offered support to anybody who was being harassed. And I've never forgotten that. So thank you for that, because I want to tell you that.
Yeah, thank you. Those were amazing days. I mean, we started in Mayfair, and then ACTSTOP grew leaps and bounds in the inner city of Joburg and Yeoville and Hillbrow, where people started moving into the city and they were being harassed by landlords and the city. And ACTSTOP grew by leaps and bounds. I mean,
so how did it start? I mean, what happened?
It started when Judge Goldstone actually made a decision that you can't evict people unless you have alternative accommodation for them. Mm-hmm. And this was on the back of a Mrs. Govender and her family, it was in Mayfair, being evicted. And they then put up a tent outside their property.
Okay.
Because they didn't have alternative accommodation. And we organized around that, and we helped her and her family. And then other people came, and this thing just grew. And then from Mayfair, we started in the inner city when there was significant influx of black people in the inner city. And those days, I mean, I could walk into any flat in Hillbrow, Buria, Joburg Park, because we had flat committees in every building, people organizing themselves. We organized against the council, we organized against slum landlords. We had an office in Johannesburg, in Pritchard Street near Central Methodist Church. So it was unbelievable days, and I think it was one of the most vibrant civic organizations at that time, and became part of the civic associations of Johannesburg a bit later, of which I was general secretary.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so one is we never had a problem personally in my home, but I know others in my area. And then it played a huge role in conscientizing all of us, very much so, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's interesting you talk about Pritchard Street. I want to see if my memory serves me correctly, because we had these leaflets, if there's a problem, call, and there were 2 numbers. One was, I think it was yours, and there was another lawyer, either Precious or I can't.
No, he wasn't a lawyer. He was
an activist. What was his name?
Activist Presage Nkosi.
Absolutely, and I remember that name, Presage Nkosi. Absolutely. So yeah, just like these are the go-to people. But then what happened once you saw how ACTSTOP came to support us, right? And then I remember very clearly of this one incident in Berea, and exactly the point you make, Berea, Hillbrow, and people being evicted. It's like, at least come and stand there. And it played a huge role even in terms of my understanding of politics and injustice. So big thank you to yourself and to the rest of your team. And how was that conceptualized?
Well, what we did is, so we had all of these people in the city buildings coming to us. We then, it all grew from a Congress tradition, right? Mm-hmm. I grew up, my political life was in the Congress movement. And my personal ethos was always that you don't go there and tell people what to do about their problems. You listen to them, and they usually have some idea about what to do about their problems. And so we met people in buildings. We listened to them. And it became quite clear that what was happening was that even though people were coming into those buildings, what landlords were doing is they were crowding those buildings, they were charging extortionate rentals, they were not maintaining the buildings. And so just like, throughout the Congress movement, we organized people around their day-to-day issues. Mm-hmm. This was a day-to-day issue in the inner city.
Yeah.
And so we felt that through the experience of ACTSTOP at Mayfair, here was an even more complex and larger problem. And so we said we need to, how do we do that in the inner city? We established with tenants flat committees in every building, and let's talk about what the problems are and what we do. Mm-hmm. And so we started negotiating with landlords. We started, volunteer attorneys and so on who actually took people to court and helped us fight the cases. We started working with a group called Plan Act. I don't know if you remember Plan Act. They were based in Yeovil. They were a group of progressive architects and town planners and so on, Mark Swilling being one of them, Billy Cobbett, who was in the Department of Housing here after 94 was one of them. And we started planning what that inner city should look like, what Joburg should look like. And eventually we ended up, after the Civic Association of Johannesburg was formed, and that included the Soweto Civic Association, Alex, Lands, Annandale, Land South, and we came together as the Civic Association of Johannesburg. And this was before 94.
Of course, I was going to just say.
This was before 94.
Unbanning of political parties, yeah.
And we then started working with the then Democratic Party City Council.
Okay.
And we formed the Transitional Metropolitan Council, which was chaired by Van Zyl Slabbert.
Okay, wow.
And we jointly governed the city between the Civic Association of Johannesburg and the City Council through the Metropolitan Council of South Africa. And we started planning the city jointly. Now this was real groundbreaking stuff at that time. And all of this happened before 94.
Okay, it could be coalition or government of national unity, whatever you want to call it.
Government of national unity.
But here's the thing now. So to finish that payoff line, because I think it was so powerful, ACTSTOP, Action Committee to Stop Evictions under the Group Areas Act, right? And the payoff line, because I remember the T-shirt, I had one, we shall not be moved.
We shall not be moved. Yeah.
Incredibly powerful. Now, here's my points to you. Where's the ACTSTOP of today?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that happened after democracy, I think, my own view, and some agree with that, is that we sort of as activists took the view that even the civic work we did, a lot of us, we did that as a front for the ANC. We always saw the ANC as our political party. It was banned. We organized through civic organizations, through labor movements and so on, through religious sectors and so on, around people's daily lives, but all with a view to getting rid of an apartheid government at local level. Okay. When the ANC was unbanned, we sort of took the view that, well, our job is done.
Yeah.
And a lot of people involved in civil society went into government. right? And so
grassroots then.
Grassroots. We demobilized civil society for many years. I mean, it's becoming vibrant now, but we demobilized civil society for many years. So, I mean, I remember during one of the xenophobic incidents in Alex a few years ago, I asked one of the ANC people who used to come from Alex, I said, but where are the street committees? Because in those days, we would have had intelligence that something is happening. Because we had street committees in every street in Alex, every street in Soweto, we had flat committees here and so on. We had the structures to give us the intelligence if something was happening. And this person said, Comrade Kes, those are all gone. Right, so I think it was a fundamental error. I was part of that, so I have point.
And would you say, not just at the local level, that nationwide, because one can think of the role of the UDF in terms of its guidance, that fundamentally the sense of like, okay, the big shots have arrived, meaning the politicians from exile, predominantly ANC, but there could well be PSC as well. It's like, okay, we've done our job, and now we need to, they are the elders, we need to take a backseat. That has been a fundamental error in South Africa.
I think given what's happened, and not only given what's happened, I think that we should have internalized that. And I think we took that decision because we always felt that our struggle was in some ways unique, that the ANC had organized itself both locally and internationally in a way where it sort of projected that we were ready to take over. We knew what the impact of governing was. We needed the people who were active in the country, and so we absorbed them. But I think that what we failed to see, certainly as activists, and let me speak for myself, what I failed to see or failed to admit is that no matter what government is in power, you'd always need civil society as a bulwark against bad governance, against corruption, and to hold government to account.
Okay, pause on that. I think that is such an important point. More to come from Kes Kuvadia on the Fireside Chat after this.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Hey, want to check your TV license balance conveniently? Look no further. Our SMS service allows you to do just that. By sending a message containing your ID or TV license number to 44210, you can quickly access your balance without needing multiple inquiries or waiting on hold. Plus, standard SMS rates apply. Take advantage of this efficient method to stay informed and streamline your payment process today. T's and C's apply.
The guaranteed 70 million rand Powerball jackpot is your reason to play this Friday. You heard right. Play Powerball for the guaranteed 70 million rand jackpot today, and you could be celebrating the millions. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old and play responsibly. E2 is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
Stay on top of all meaningful, top trending stories right here on SAFM. Leading the conversation. The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
All right, Kes Kuvadia with me on the Fireside Chat. Okay, just let's pause on all the things we've spoken about before. But by the way, there's always maybe time for 2 calls, 3 at the absolute push on this show, because there's just not enough time for anything else, okay? So if you want to call in or send us a WhatsApp, that's fine. 086 000 2032. WhatsApp, text or voice notes 0614 104 107. Or you can post on social media. Tweet me, Ashraf Garda, tweet SAFM Radio. Use the hashtag The National Pulse, or you can also Facebook us, right? Okay, Business Unity SA. where do you see in terms of your role and the impact that you and your organization are having now? Because there's this big conundrum, the role of government, the role of civil society, the role of big business. People love you, people hate you, big business, that is, right? They're just exploiters. Where do you see this?
Look, first let me say that for the last 3 years or so, the trust barometers in this country and globally, things like the Edelman Trust Barometers, for instance, the most trusted sector is business. Okay. Second is civil society, NGOs. Third is media, and fourth is government. So I think that with all the criticism and sometimes plaudits and whatever, but people seem to be saying that whatever else, we can trust business to do the right thing. Okay. I think that gives us a responsibility. And so and we discuss this at the Busa board, gives us the responsibility to say if we trust it, then we've got to do the right thing. Okay, and what we've done in the last couple of years is that we've moved from a position that says government, there's a whole lot of issues in legislation, regulation, sort those out, and then we'll see what we can do. Okay. Instead, what we're saying, a year ago, we identified 3 areas: logistics, energy, and law and order. And we went to the President and said, Mr. President, if we can make significant interventions in addressing the crises in these 3 areas, we believe we can actually increase confidence in the country, we can hopefully increase investment, we can put ourselves onto a growth path and begin to address the social and other ills we have. But we've got to do this in partnership, okay? That we recognize, and President has said publicly for a whole range of reasons, government's capacity is weak. The Zuma years, and then even after that, we just slipped up in many things. That we would raise resources and identify capacity at the request of government and put that capacity into government to build government's capacity, help government make those interventions for a period of time, but with a view that this is very time-bound, very focused, very structured, and once we've done that, we believe that government should have institutionalized the capacity we are providing and can then do what it needs to do. It's not healthy for business to continue to do this. We don't want to continue to do government's job. But we believe that if we make the necessary interventions, we can make progress. And so if you look at energy, together we've progressed. Load shedding is no more. There's been significant investment by the private sector in energy generation, and that will increase. We're looking at a new role for Eskom and so on. We're moving in similar direction on logistics. Crime and corruption has been a bit slower, but because of the nature of that, but we're trying to look at what we do there. So I think that, and we just launched phase 2 of that partnership about a month ago. The President spoke. There were about 130 CEOs and so on. So I think that the role of business, I think the line between business and society is blurring.
And should it?
I think it should. Okay, because what we're beginning to do, we talk about sustainability. To me, it's not only climate change and land use and so on, which are all important. But sustainable business, in my view, is that we do business in a way that also grows the communities and societies in which we work and creates employment over the long term and so on. Because if we don't do that, and business is not going to be able to do this on its own. That's what this partnership is about. And if we don't do that, then in 20 years' time, we're not doing business. It's not because we're nice guys and girls. There's a strong business and economic imperative to work sustainably in that way.
And is the partnership working?
Partnership is working, without a doubt. The president is leading from the government side. We meet every 6 to 8 weeks with the president and government and about 10 or 15 CEOs to track progress. We talk about where the blockages are, and if the blockages are in businesses, we take care of it. If the blockages are in government, the president takes care of it. It's working. Is it going as fast as we would like? No. But in a year, and this is 15 months. We started in June last year. We made significant progress on energy. Okay, we're starting to make good progress on Transnet. We signed the logistics roadmap, and there's more private sector participation and so on. We've developed a forensic facility for the country. We worked with the NPA to look at its capacity to build cases and so on. So there's been good progress. And all of this we want to do on a hands-off basis, so an arm's length basis. This isn't about every person who's working on the business side in this initiative has signed an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement.
Okay. Yeah.
We don't want anybody to do business from this. This is not about doing business.
Absolutely.
For the next period, this is about creating an environment where we can do business.
Well, we certainly need things to be done correctly. I think there's no question all of us have an interest in building the country that we want to live in, certainly the country of our dreams in this country. 5:30, let's get the news headlines. Here's Greg Coase.
Quick look at the headlines. The ANC's National Disciplinary Committee of Appeal has upheld the decision of the Disciplinary Committee to expel former party leader Jacob Zuma. The head of the SIU says strengthening legislation will help in the protection of whistleblowers. And NATO says Russia's use of an experimental intermediate-range ballistic missile against Ukraine will not change the course of the conflict. There's a full update at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 southbound in Randburg is queuing towards Malibongwe Drive exit. In Pretoria, the N1 northbound queuing towards the N4 Witbank Highway, and the N1 northbound has a crash reported near Stormfall Road. In KZN, the N2 northbound queuing towards Umdloti exit. The M4 southbound is queuing towards the N2 Highway exit, and the M7 westbound in Pinetown has a crash reported near the N3 Highway exit. In Cape Town, the N2 outbound has a crash at Rapenburg Road, the M5 southbound queuing towards the N2 Highway, the N7 Jakes Havel Drive southbound slow moving at Voortrekker Road, and Main Road in Sea Point is closed at St. John's Road, so expect delays. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tumi Nkapele.
Well, all I know is the Boks are playing against the Welsh tomorrow.
Yeah, they definitely are. And Eben Etzebeth will start at lock alongside Franco Mostert in the Springboks' final Castle-Lager outgoing tour clash against Wales tomorrow after Jean Kleyn was forced to withdraw from the match 23 due to a niggle. Now, Etzebeth's promotion to the starting 15 sees flanker Marco van Staden being drafted onto the replacements bench, and Springbok coach Rassie Rasmus decided to make the late change to the match 23 and said that he had full faith in Van Staden to make a valuable impact off the bench after being a regular member of the squad all season. In football, it's all systems go for the Carling Knockout Final tomorrow at 6 p.m. between Magesi FC and Mamelodi Sundowns at the Soweto Stadium in Bloemfontein. The showdown sees the underdog Magesi aiming for a fairy tale ending against Sundowns, who were favourites to lift the trophy they last won in 2019. It's the first ever meeting between the two sides, and according to Magesi coach Lawson, he says that they are ready for any eventuality in this game. Still staying with football, Manchester United coach Ruben Amorim says that he's confident in his squad. Amorim was speaking in his first press conference in his new role.
It's bigger. There's a lot of departments. It's so much different than Sporting. In Sporting is a big club, but it's in Portugal. This is, you feel that is a global club, so you have so much to do. It's not just coaching the team. But I have a lot of help, a lot of meetings. So I'm improving in that areas, but I feel very happy, very comfortable. So I feel at home.
Meanwhile, when asked about his thoughts about the club versus the perception that he had,
Ruben, you're the 6th permanent manager of Manchester United since the club last won the Premier League title. What gives you the belief that you can be the one to restore the club to that level?
I'm a little bit a dreamer, and I believe in myself. I also believe in the club. I think we have the same idea, the same mindset, so that can help. But I truly believe in the players also. I know that you guys don't believe a lot in these players, but I believe a lot. I think we have room to improve, and I want to try new things. So you guys think it's not possible. I think it's possible. We will see in the end.
Then in athletics, World Athletics President Sebastian Coe says that the new Ultimate Championship Team event officially unveiled by the sports governing body will definitely be a game changer for track and field. The inaugural event will be held in Budapest on the 11th to the 13th of September 2026 and will be staged every 2 years to fulfill World Athletics' ambition of having a global championship every year. The federation said that the event will provide a spectacular conclusion to the summer athletics season in the years where there is no World Athletics Championship. The event boasts a record prize of $10 million, which is around 180.6 million rand, and it is said to be the largest ever offer in track and field. Each session will last 3 hours, and athletes will represent both themselves and their national teams wearing national kit. With that said, it is a wrap from my side.
Now, I know you're wearing a Pirates top, but Pirates is black and red, which looks exactly like the Man United coach's black and red. What did you think of his first press conference? In terms of the way he came across?
I feel he's very confident. I think he's just showing that he's not intimidated by a big club like Manchester United. It's just for us to wait and see what he's going to deliver as a coach.
You know what I'd love to do with all coaches in the world, not just in England, but even in South Africa, is to play back their first press conference and then play that back 3-4 years later and see what happened. I would love to. I need to check it up. Absolutely. And maybe Rassie Erasmus's first one as well, because I think it was something remarkable that's happened with the Springbok team. Okay, we will chat on Monday.
Absolutely.
And all the best for the awards. Tell me about the awards you're going to be judging at, right? Or you're going to give out awards.
I'm going to be a guest presenter or giving out one of the awards for one of the categories at the Gauteng Sports Awards on Sunday, so people must be glued to the TVs.
Oh, okay, but it's Man United against Ipswich Town on Sunday.
Versus the Minister of Sports. Come on.
Well, we'll see what finally happens. You have your fun, I'll have my fun. We'll talk about it on Monday.
All right, then.
Right, yeah,
Are we ready for a real conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
The Gunners of London are gunning for victory in their own backyard when they tackle Nottingham Forest.
He's done well, Martinelli, chance for Arsenal here, Martinelli scores!
But the Tricky Trees refuse to remove their foot off the pedal as they navigate a way to the top 5.
And headed in! It's a goal for Forest, and it's Murillo!
This is the Premier League. Catch the incredible encounter between Arsenal FC and Nottingham Forest FC on Saturday, 23 November at 4:30 p.m. live on SABC3. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
What a day. Time for that face mask. Leave the face mask on for 2 minutes. 2 minutes? That's not even enough time for it to work. I can't even send an email in 2 minutes or make a cup of coffee.
With Santam, 2 minutes is enough to insure your car online. When you're fully protected with the expert insurer, you're free to live in the moment, not in the worry. Santam, this is freedom. Santam is an authorized FSP, a licensed non-life insurer and controlling company for its group companies.
You pay less at Clicks with great savings. Buy any 3 Slow Mag products, cheapest one free. Get Sinutab nasal spray 10 mils for $66.99. Save 20% on Osteo Ease Gold 90 capsules. And save 20% on Uriclear 6 or 28 veggie caps. Clicks, feel good, pay less.
X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
Right, Kes Kubandia in the house is part of our Friday Fireside Chat. But by the way, in the meantime, the ANC's National Disciplinary Committee of Appeal, that's the NDCA, well, they've now upheld the decision of the National Disciplinary Committee to expel Jacob Zuma from the ANC. Don't take my word for it. Here's the voice clip coming from Mahlangu Bengu Motsiri, the ANC national spokesperson.
The ANC has noted and welcomed the decision by the National Disciplinary Committee of Appeal to uphold the finding by the National Disciplinary Committee to expel Mr. Jacob Zuma from the ANC. As a former president of the ANC, Mr. Zuma was expected to embody the highest standards of disciplined leadership and advanced cadres who serve as guides and inspiration for all members of our movement and society. Instead, his actions have undermined the unity and cohesion of the movement at a time when it is critical to consolidate and push forward with organizational renewal and confront the pressing challenges facing South Africa. This severe breach of our organizational foundation necessitated his expulsion to safeguard the ANC's integrity and ensure that the unity of the organization remains in form and in content.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, Jimmy, it's a Friday, so no full-on market update for an hour, but you do have market news now. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon to the listeners. We're closing out the week in positive territory on the local front. It doesn't seem that way on some of the other markets, but let's do a quick summary of what's been happening throughout the day. Asian markets that would have been trading first, half of the markets were in the green, half were in the red. It's a bit of a mixed bag there. The Nikkei in Tokyo was up 0.2%, with the Sydney ASX up 0.85%. The Hong Kong index was down about 1.8%. Mainland China down 3%. Not a good close to the week for them. European markets were all in the green, with the CAC 40 the lowest or the lagging market of the three. The CAC 40 up 0.2%, but the DAX up 0.87%, and the FTSE up 1.3%. If we look at South African markets, the financial sector stocks were down 0.2%, with industrials down 0.3%, but the saving grace was resources. They were up 2.2%. As a result, the all share finished up 0.1%, with the top 40 finishing slightly higher than flat, about 5 basis points in the green. If we look at the rand, currently it's sitting at 18 rand 10 cents to the US dollar. 1 British pound will cost you 22 rand and 69 cents, the third stronger. 1 euro will cost you 18 rand 85, 0.2% stronger there. 1 Australian dollar, 11 rand and 76 cents. Those have been watching Bitcoin. We got dangerously close to $100,000 per Bitcoin. We stopped at 99,500 on some of the exchanges. I expect that we will definitely breach the $100,000 mark for a Bitcoin before the end of the year. I think it's all but certain at this point. If we look at the commodities pricing at the moment, the price of Brent crude, $74.50 a barrel, not where we want to see it, but still below $75, so we're still okay with that for now. Platinum and palladium pricing kind of trucking along, palladium pricing giving back a bit of gains, down to $1,020 an ounce, while platinum is coming up to $973 an ounce. The gold price had a good day. It's up about 1% at the moment. It's sitting at $2,703 fine ounce there. We've got the final week of the November trading month coming up next week, so I expect there'll be a lot of movements in prices and markets as some traders and investors look to close out their positions ahead of the Santa rally that we typically see kick off around about now into December. So we've got a couple of things to be watching for next week, but for now we take the win that is this week, and we hope that we have another win next week.
There we are. Let's see. Thanks for that, Jimmy. So yeah, we will talk on Monday, right?
Okay, let's get this recipe right. Switch to S3 at 7 p.m. Add 1 scoop of mushindiki. Check. Mix in team green pepper and team red tomato, featuring 2 chefs and 2 contestants. Check. Blend in a limited budget per team and a mystery ingredient to add a bit of spice. Check. Set the timer for 20 minutes and voila, there you have it. A fresh episode of Ready Steady Cook South Africa on S3 every weeknight at 7 p.m. Channel your inner Salt Bay with Ready Steady Cook SA, Mondays to Friday at 7 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
Ask a man. Ask a man who's late for work after his car got hit by a truck, desperately waiting for help, if he's glad he saved 14 Rand on his insurance premium. Ask a man if buying the cheapest insurance was really worth it. And now ask yourself, when suddenly happens, who's there for you?
Auto and General. Car insurance with Auto SOS. Emergency accident detection and response. Visit autogen.co.za for a quote. Auto SOS is available to comprehensive car customers. A&G is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
So I'm looking at, so we're back with Cas Kubadia, of course, right? He's the fireside chat guest up till 6 o'clock. So Cas, this is interesting. And the message says, my memory of Cas Kubadia was sometime in 1988, it's a long time ago. I was part of the Durban City Residents Association. We had a meeting in Joburg, and myself and another white female comrade who was of German origin were delegated to attend a meeting in Joburg with Axtop. We were told we would meet one comrade, Cas Kubadia, somewhere in Mayfair or Fordsburg, next to some ice cream shop. I wonder if you know who it is, right? We left Durban around 4 a.m. and we arrived at the meeting spot in the morning. We waited for about an hour. Cas Kubadia arrived. We asked him about the late arrival, and his response was he needed to make sure that we were the right comrades and that there was undercover agents following him or us. You know who I'm talking about?
Iqbal?
No. Dr. Sipho Sithole.
Oh, okay.
Okay. There we are. Who's currently lecturing in the USA at the moment. Right? There we are. And Sipho's listening to the show. So great. Sipho, I'm glad that you are tuned in to the show. So there you are. Fascinating. You never know where things come up. Yeah. So here's one that I would have asked you, but I think certainly a listener is asking something very similar, picking up from the earlier conversation we had.
I'd like to know from your guest, what does he think about the inner cities today? What's happening to them?
Yeah. Okay. Quick answer. Inner cities.
Yeah. It's tragic. It's terrible. And we're trying to, as Busa, see if we can make any intervention. It's complicated. We're meeting a whole range of organizations working in the inner city. But this is one of the economic hubs of South Africa. We've got to get it right.
How did we lose it? Because we have lost it. Right?
I think primarily political problems. Let's be quite clear about that. I mean, there was a time when we were going well. We then had political problems at local and provincial level. We, and to a certain extent, corruption has moved from national to local level now, and we need to deal with that. We appointed wrong people and then fired them. We haven't managed to leverage off, and I believe we should be leveraging off the government of national unity at national level and working together at local level. Mm-hmm. And then I think that the problem is that, as we said earlier, civil society has been demobilized. I think there are organizations that are trying to do something.
Maybe there's a task for you. How long for you as CEO of Busa? And
end of the year.
Is that it?
Yeah.
No extension.
Yeah,
so get your.
I've had a 2.5-year extension already.
I know
you
did.
One.
Get your X-Top ready again. I think there's a space for that.
I'm doing something else after this.
What are you doing? What's the plan?
I'm going to be the Sherpa for the B20.
So what is the B20?
Which is the sort of business stream of the G20.
But it's completely linked, right?
No,
not at all.
We talk to each other, we coordinate where we can, but Busa is hosting the B20. And just recently they asked me to be the Sherpa, so essentially.
Okay, so you're going to be very, very busy. And will that be will they have a summit again like the G20 around a year from now?
Yeah, summit. We'll also have a launch sometime early next year of the B20 in South Africa. And it's going to be a busy year.
Okay. I mean, you have, if I can say one thing, you are a man in demand, aren't you? Like, you're never sort of doing nothing. There's always something or the other crop that comes up.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm always doing something. I'd like to spend time with my wife and the family and so on, but the Busa chair, when he spoke to me about this, said, I guess people like us, we belong to the country, I guess. So, but it's got to stop at some time, and I think.
But is that how you see yourself? I mean, in terms of your own purpose, you belong to your country, or is it something else?
Well, everything I'm doing now, I do because I think it makes a difference for the country, and it makes a difference in taking us out of the sort of crises we are in currently. I don't want to work for a corporate. I don't want to work for government. I want to work in organizations that can actually begin to influence and make a difference.
Okay. Interesting that Bruce Whitfield, when he stepped out at 702 and moved on to other things, he's put together a book called The One Thing, and I'm not too sure whether you're one of the people he asked to contribute.
Yes,
did you contribute?
Yeah.
So I'm one of them, but I haven't even read the full book.
I haven't read.
What did you say? What is your one thing?
No, if I remember correctly, the one thing I said is that what is critical for this country at the moment is ethical and moral leadership.
Yeah.
Across the board, not only in government, across the board. And leadership that's actually doesn't just look at now, but looks at the future and has a broader perspective towards what should be done, and not just in their sector, but how do we actually lead across sectors, and no matter where you are, whether you're in your mosque or your church or wherever, but lead so that you make a positive difference wherever you're actually leading.
Let's go back, not so much about X-Top, I don't want to talk about that now, no, but when you were a young boy growing up, is there something, a seed that got planted in you that set you up on this journey upon reflection?
Well, I think, the Kavadia family in those days, there were some people who were active, but I spent quite a lot of my younger days with my uncle.
Which is?
Late now, Muhammad Musa Kavadia.
Okay.
And he was very progressive for his time. And he read a lot. He read the newspapers from cover to the end. And he talked to me about these things. And he taught me that you've got to believe in things, you've got to ask questions, you've got to think a bit more than yourself and think ahead. And then I think that also it's amazing, in grade 2 I had a teacher.
Okay, and this is interesting.
Mrs. Patel at the Ferreras-Dorp School.
So you're a Baker Street.
Baker Street, yeah. I've stayed in
Which many of the
Orient
Pahads basically come from the same community,
Orient
right?
House at that time, yeah. And 6 months into grade 2, she decided, and she traced me recently, and I went to go and see her. She's 84 years old now.
Wow.
And she told me that she spoke to the principal and so on. She says that I shouldn't be in grade 2. She wants to promote me to standard 1.
Okay.
So I do grade 2 and standard 1 together. And I think that was a seminal moment in my life. Where it really scared me for a while because I had to do standard 1 in 6 months. And then she came to see me. And she told me that I can do it. I was 7 years old here.
Yeah.
But it was a seminal moment, and I got through standard 1, so I did the 2 together, and it sort of gave me the confidence that I can do things.
Okay. What advice is she giving you now when you met her?
Well, I didn't spend too much time with her, but she apparently saw a photo, and she told her daughter, "That's my favorite pupil.
Oh,
I want to see him." And
what a lovely story. Yeah. Is there somebody else, besides her now and her intervention, that over the years you can say this person has made a huge impact in my life? I know you mentioned your uncle, but maybe somebody away from family.
Well, I think that, at varsity, my contemporaries, and I was at Salisbury Island, okay? Most people don't know what that is. That was before University of Durban West.
Okay, so based in
Durban. Yeah. It was a military base, still is partly a military base. And my contemporaries were people like Praveen, people like Yunus Mohammed, Sats Cooper, Zach Yaqub.
Okay.
And that's where I think I began to get my political sort of backing. And people like Zach, for instance. I mean, I used to see this, and we used to travel by ferry every day.
Okay. Yes, right.
And I used to see this guy from far. Then when I got to know him and I saw he was blind.
Yeah.
And what he's
So
doing.
you didn't know that?
Yeah, I did. Because Zach had this ability. If he's walking and there's a car parked there, he won't get to the car and touch it. He'll switch and pass a car. He had developed his senses.
So good. Quick one about him. I was in a bus, Cricket World Cup opening day, 2003, at the Wanderers, right? And of course you couldn't park at the Wanderers because of the World Cup, so you had to park further away, and you're going to these convoys. And we a whole lot of people in this 10-person directed convoy, and we're sitting and I hadn't yet met him before at that time, and I'm talking to somebody, and he said, "You are Ashraf Garda."
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
He
because obviously he's blind,
voice,
but
yeah.
the sense was
unbelievable.
Just profound, so fascinating.
I mean, unbelievable. So I mean, there were a lot of people in my university life, in my education. Ahmed Timur was my history teacher in Standard 8 in Ruriput School.
Okay.
And I mean, while some were celebrating Republic Day because the principal, they insisted you had to, we were in the class listening to Ahmed talk to us about politics.
So were you there at the time when he was arrested, detained?
I was second year university when he was murdered. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. How I always do this. Give a shout out to a young person that you'd like to amplify. Somebody that you think is going places.
I must name somebody.
Yeah, name someone.
Okay, so there's a guy by the name of Zido who came to see me a couple of times. He did some studying in metallurgy and so on. Can't get a job. And I referred him to a few people and so on. And this guy, not once did he tell me, you know what, it's hard and it's unfair and so on. And it just, Mr. Kavadia, thank you for referring me. I'm going to do this to improve myself and so on. And that sort of perseverance. And he sent me a message the other day to say, thank you for everything you've done. I've got a job.
Okay, wow.
And this is what I'm doing. And I told him, you know what, you're going to do great things. And just, I mean, this guy, I didn't know him from a bar of soap. He saw me at a conference. He asked for my card. I have this habit of just dishing my cards out.
Okay.
And he came to see me. And, I've been trying to help him ever since.
And the lesson there for him is what? He was dogged.
He was
determined.
dogged. He persevered. He didn't think that the world is against him. He recognized that there are issues. He's got to deal with them. If he perseveres, he will get to where he needs to get to. And he did that.
Okay, fascinating. We've got 3 minutes to go. It's quite crazy. What's the one thing you want to get off your chest? Just something that you feel like, I want to make this statement.
Well, I think that we need to bloody recognize that we messed up as a country in many ways. But this is still the greatest country in the world. And I think that we have a window of opportunity right now to actually come together, fix up what we're messing up, and actually take this country to another place.
What? Look, I'd like what you say, because I'd love to build, I talk about building a champion nation, but why do you think it is the greatest country in the world?
Well, firstly, the people. I mean, the people are great. I mean, sure, we have our problems, but the people are great. You're walking around somewhere, people look at you, they smile, they greet you. I think that we have amazing economic opportunities if we get a few things right. I think we punch above our weight in geopolitical issues, and very well, I believe. I think that I mean, for a few people, the standard of living here is amazing. And there's no reason why we can't actually build an economy that actually expands that.
We need to multiply that. Well, I'll tell you what, we must get you in again for another more detailed thought leader conversation. But there's a minute to go. Who would you like to get around a seat at the table with? You haven't yet had that privilege. And you've met lots of people, I know
I've met lots of people. You know, I don't know. I guess I'd.
And everybody's saying, choose me, because it
No,
just happened.
no. Look, you know, if I, you know, somebody like, you know, I quite honestly can't think of it.
Let's end with this, and if you get a chance, you can just come back on that one.
Yeah.
How would you like to be remembered?
I wouldn't want to be. No, if people remember me, they talk to me, it's just to say that I use whatever talents and expertise I had to benefit a country and a people that I love.
Okay, well, I'll remember this great line. I wouldn't want to be remembered, Kaz Kabadia. Great chatting to you. Thanks for being the Fireside Chat guest. We'll get you as a thought leader conversation chat sometime on maybe on business in a more detailed way. We'd love to do that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thanks for having me.
There you are. That's it. Friday afternoon. We'll do another one next week, of course, but it's 6 o'clock now. Time for the news with Greg House.
Thank you again, Ashraf. In this news update, ANC upholds Zuma's expulsion and call for increased protection for whistleblowers. Good evening. The ANC's National Disciplinary Committee of Appeal has upheld the decision of the Disciplinary Committee to expel former party President Jacob Zuma. He appealed his expulsion, publicly exclaiming that he would die in the ANC. In a statement, the ANC welcomed the decision, adding that Zuma's conduct exemplifies ill discipline and the lack of respect for collective decisions. He was expelled from the party in July for endorsing and leading the MK party. Spokesperson Mahlengi Bengu Motsir.
As a former president of the ANC, Mr. Zuma was expected to embody the highest standards of disciplined leadership and advanced cadres who serve as guides and inspiration for all members of our movement.